Do it like this. Let's do it like this. Did the notifications go out?
Let's see if they went out. Let's see if the notifications.
Let's do this like this. Like this, like this, like this. Oop.
Notification.
And
Notification.
And do this.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
What's populating with the population? Everybody in the building.
Man, oh man. Smash the like button as y'all come on in, man. Smash that like button as you come on in.
As you wipe your feet. Wipe your feet.
As you work your way in, hit the like button. What's good? Yeah. What's good? What's good, my peopleizations? What's goody? What's goody? What's goody? What's goody, my peopleizations?
We living great, Hacks. Living 100. And for show.
Salute. Brother JJ Short Deuce in the building.
Yo, Maya Egypt is really Maya. It's not Mayat, or it's Maya. Is it Maya?
It's Mayat.
It's Mayat, right? Yeah, that's what I figured.
Salute to JJ Short Deuce in the building. Callie World of Queen, she's in the building. Brother Hacks in the building. 8 in the building. DFW Motivation in the building. King Alley is in the building. Chris Brooks in the building. Hannibal in the building. Klotz in the building. The Future in the building. Anthony Moore in the building. DVJ 600, he in the building. Maya Egypt, the Queen, she's in the building. DeMarcus Martin, my brother, in the building. Mark Wunderlich in the building. Maharvard Salam, he's in the building. Chris Legg, my brother's in the building. G Tatted Up Nephew, he in the building. Happy Valley Farm in the building. Dogfight in the building. Denzel Horton in the building. We in the building. And more importantly, we got my brother, my co-host, Claymore Rain. He's in the building. Yes, sir.
Salute,
yes, sir.
Salute.
Yes, sir. James, Big Hearn, what's up, family? Randall 700, what up? He said, you mean I'm blue? What you mean, Randall? Salute. So, few things to talk about today is Artur Beterbiev telling our brother Ed, his trainer is telling our brother Ed that Eddie Hearn and Turkey are at odds and not on the same page, not working together in the future. And then you had Bob Arum come out and say some choice things about Turkey Al-Sheikh working in the States.
The future of his endeavors, saying that it was focused on Riyadh and these events he expects him to be all on Saudi from now on.
And the higher ups are not happy with the way things have played out here in the States. And he's taking his act back to Saudi Arabia.
Right. Because LA was a complete failure.
Right. And then we have this situation with Batran Murtazaliev and his team. They're as they supposed to, pushing for a fight with Terence Crawford.
For sure.
But they're hitting that Terence Crawford, ducking them. Right. For the bag for a Canelo Alvarez fight.
Right.
So G Wall 77, what's up, family? Kawhi Elliott, what's up? Keith Johnson, what's up? He said, oh, you mean I'm late, Blue? Hey, man, if you missed the roll call, you late. Hey, man, you missed that roll call, you're late. Poe Porter, what's up, family? Yeah, you missed the roll call, you're late, man. You're late.
That's how it be.
That's how it be, man. So, so now, with that said, these are some things that we got to get into. you know, because it's important for, the sport of boxing. Because
Right.
Shakia Fields, peace and blessings, Queen, she's in the building. So, so that's the thing, right? Canelo ducked me. What's up, family? So that's the thing, is that Turki Al-Sheikh is doing something big for us in the sport of boxing, right? And he is, he's making the best fight the best. Promoters don't seem to be happy because he's not allowing them to go with the old guard, the old way of doing things with quote unquote matchmaking properly. And they feel like he's not allowing the fights to build up. Right.
Right. They feel like, I think the biggest thing, Blue, that they don't like is that he seems to be enticing the fighters to want to get involved in fights that the promoters feel like the fighters aren't ready for. Right. So he's tempting them. He's tempting the fighters with big paydays to fight in really competitive fights that it looks like the promoters, and let's be honest, Bob Arum in this case, right? Bob Arum seems to be disappointed and upset with the fact that Turki was able to coerce Jared Anderson into taking a fight with a fighter that just, he was on another level. That was on another level from Jared Anderson, and he got humbled, and obviously that rubbed Bob Arum the wrong way, in my opinion, from what it looks like.
Because that's one of his aces.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, right? Here's the thing I don't like about it. And salute to my brother Hope Nell in the building in the super chat, dropping that Cinco on this in the super chat. I watched the playback yesterday. Y'all didn't have to do my bro Carl Brown like that. I was telling, I was yelling, fight back.
My guy Carl, bro. Oh my God.
Hey, oh man. He said I was screaming, fight back. Harold Lipson, what's up? AJ Moore, what's up? Round One Sports Talk, what's up, him? So here's the thing that I don't like about it, right, Clay?
Mm-hmm.
The thing I don't like about it is this. When people say that he wasn't ready, right?
Right.
Javid Anderson. Okay. Now, if he would have won, nobody would have said he's not ready.
Right.
So the thing is that the issue that I have with it is that at what point in time is he going to be ready? Right? Because, Martin Bacoli is a dangerous fighter. But let's not he has a loss, and he only has 22 fights. Right. 21 fights going into that fight. Right? So Jared Anderson going into the fight, he had 17 fights. So there was 4 fights separate.
Right.
And Jared Anderson, 15 knockouts with no losses. Right? And he already fought a world champion in Charles Martin. Okay? When you look at Martin Bacoli, right? He fought Kevin Johnson, Rodney Hernandez, Tony Yoka. That's the fight that really put him on the map, right? The Yoka fight, right?
Right.
But Yoka only had 11 fights, Clay.
100%.
And he beat Carlos Takam, right? So, and he lost to Michael Hunter.
In a fight that people could dispute, he got injured in, but he lost it for sure. He lost it, but
he lost to Michael Hunter, right, Clay?
Right.
And Michael Hunter only had 15 fights.
Right.
So the thing is, Reggie Reg, what's up, family? It's not that he wasn't ready. What are we looking at? The age? Because Bacoli is 32.
Well, I think Bob Arum knows his fighter, right? And I don't think it's any secret that it seemed like Jared Anderson was digressing a little bit, being that his motivation seemed to be compromised. At some point in the process, his motivation to compete at a high level and be a legacy-driven fighter and be a champion seemed to get compromised, right? He started to express pressure from the outside world on his boxing career being successful, and he started to break a little bit. We started to see that even in his preparation when he did that interview with Roy Jones. I think it was for the Martin fight, but was it even before that? But he started to question a lot of things. He came off of a fight that people was wondering what he was doing, when he's all of a sudden decided he was going to box when he was fighting I can't remember his name, something Riyadh. I can't remember what his name was, but I think you get to a point where somebody like Bob Arum, as much as experience as he brings into boxing, he could read that Jared Anderson just stopped developing. He stopped getting better. And maybe he had plans on wanting to see him in some more tune-ups, putting him in some other fights that was going to make him kind of give him the answers as to how he was going to move with Jared Anderson, as far as even renewing a contract with him or moving forward with him in the space. And Turkey hopped in, in my opinion, in a time period where it was like barbecue or mildew. It was like we got tired of seeing Jared Anderson be in fights with people we either A, don't think he should be in the ring with, or B, him not giving great performances because of the competition he was in the ring with. So Turkey gave him an opportunity to be like, look, they're saying that you're going to be the face of the heavyweight division for America. This is what everybody's saying. So let's put it to the test. Let's put you on an international platform. Let's get the best heavyweight boxers in front of you, which are international heavyweights right now, not United States heavyweights, and let's see what happened. And obviously he got exposed in that fight, but Bob Arum on the other side of that is going to be, he had to sit front row and watch somebody who put a lot of invested a lot of future success in get embarrassed in front of the whole world.
Yeah, and it wasn't like he was fighting cherry picks.
Who, Jared?
Yeah. Because
they weren't cherry picks, but
they wasn't cherry picks. Like the resume, the Lebanon do 6. What's up, family? The beautiful queen, Cameron Fields. She's in the building. Blessings, queen. So it wasn't like he was fighting complete cherry pick type fighters.
Right. I mean, he had some decent. I'm looking at his record right now. He had like some decent dudes on there, but I think the Martin Bakole fight was definitely a super leap. It was like
you feel that way?
I feel like, yeah, I didn't think he was going to beat Martin Bakole going into that fight. I really didn't think he was going to compete with him. I wasn't surprised at all of him getting embarrassed that way. If you watch my videos on there, I was saying, yeah, I told y'all it was coming. I knew Martin Bakole was at a very high level, and I knew just off of his sparring who he sparred with the Tyson Furies, the Anthony Joshuas, and his resume just in sparring alone let me know that Jared Anderson Jared Anderson just hasn't been in a heavyweight camp, in my opinion. He sits there and his best friends are Shakur Stevenson and Keyshawn Davis, and I didn't see who he was working with to make himself a heavyweight. And then when you see that last fight he had with what's his name, Riyadh Murhi, he tried to fight. He almost looked like a middleweight, not size wise, just the style of boxing he was doing. I went into that fight with him going against Martin Bakole, knowing that was going to be a bad issue for him. I just knew in my heart of hearts, I knew it was going to be a bad day for him.
See, I didn't look at it as like a leaps and bound fight. I thought it was just a step up, but I mean, Charles Martin was a world champion and been in some interesting fights. Charles Martin
was a step up for him. That was like Charles Martin. I questioned that fight. I thought that might go left for him. I ain't gonna lie to you. I've been seeing Jared Anderson as somebody who just needed work. Like, he looked good, but I've seen him hit too many times. I've seen him hit real clean and hard, like shots that he didn't need to take. And I've seen him buckled at times, and I've seen him just do things that I knew that once he got into that top 10, that he wasn't going to be able to do that. And Martin Bakole was like we're seeing it. Hindsight says Martin Bacole's a top 5 heavyweight boxer that just, like 50 said, he's an underground king that just ain't been crowned. He was him going into that fight. He just didn't get the opportunity to show it. But, when you watch him, if you watch his videos for the fights that he was in, you saw it. Like, you like, oh man, it's like some George Foreman, Larry Holmes reincarnation type of energy right here. Like, Jared is not going to be able to get hit by this guy. He's not going to get clean shots like the way when Charles Martin hit him and buckled him in that fight. That was just a wild punch. This guy's going to be coming in with focused, straight shots. He's going to have to not be playing around and be trying to figure out how to beat this dude. I didn't see it in him. You know what I mean? And I think more importantly, Bob Arum didn't see it in him, clearly, right? Bob Arum said that was just a horrible fight. The way Bob Arum made it sound like, he made it sound like it, you know what I'm saying? Like that I would never have allowed that fight to happen. I knew not to do that, but the money was there, and Jared went for the damn money and played himself. So he knew what a lot of other people knew about Jared, and then one could even question Turki Al-Sheikh's intentions and integrity as far as, did Turki know it was going to end up being like that, because it was pretty obvious.
Yeah, see, I looked at it and I'm like, I didn't feel like it was a leaps and bound fight. You know what I'm saying? I felt like it was a necessary fight, because I felt like all of the other fights would have just been just simply just plateau fights, if that makes sense. Like, I don't think that he would have had a fight that was gonna, it was big names, you know what I'm saying? I don't think that the division has the necessary fighters to put him in there and he just learned. Like Andy Ruiz or Jarrell Miller or Martin Bacoli or like Joseph Parker,
Zele, Ergovich, Ajit Kabayel.
Everybody's at a certain level. So at this point, after Charles Martin, where do you go?
You had to go up. You had to go up. Yeah, there was no choice. 100%. I agree with you. Yep.
And so I'm like, we just rattled off at least close to 10 people.
Yeah. There was no choice. It wasn't a case of it was a bad matchmaking as far as it was other fights that should have been made rather than that fight. It was a fact that Jared Anderson was going to hit a wall of a moment of truth, a moment of clarity, like Jay said, right? You about to have a moment of clarity about where you are in boxing as far as the heavyweight division is concerned, in the whole perspective of the division, knowing that the division is really an international division in comparison to other divisions that are not as international. This one is, you're going to fight against some boxers that are some heavy punchers and who can box. You were able to get away with a lot. Even with the Charles Martin fight, Charles Martin's on his way out the door. This is an older version of a great fighter. This was about as good as it was going to get for you at this point.
Even him and Charles Martin had some close fights.
100%. But his better years, right, were behind him. You know what I mean? He was working towards working his way outside the door. And now even on the low side of it, like a Frank Sanchez, right? Or, you know what I mean? Like you get into that conversation down there. I mean, you got problems all the way from Frank Sanchez up.
That's what I'm saying. Like, so we say Frank Sanchez. He's a problem.
Yeah,
in his own right.
Yes.
You got Martin Bacoli. You got Joseph Parker.
Right.
You got Deontay Wilder, Anthony Joshua, Tyson Fury, Andy Cruz, Jarrell Miller.
That's on the low spectrum too. That's on the low side of it. Besides Martin Bacoli,
Joe Joyce, Zhang, Big Zhang.
Yep.
We just rattled off 12 people. If you can't fight and beat somebody in the top 15,
you're just not him.
You're not him, bro.
You just not him.
Right.
It ain't about development at that point. It's about truth.
Right.
He might be a cruiserweight, but even down there, even with like a Jai Obatai down there, or the fighters down there, they're gonna give issues there. Jared stopped developing, man. He just did. He stopped developing.
Who did Frank Sanchez fight?
Frank Sanchez lost against Ajit Kabayel on a Riyadh season card, but he had like a bad knee in that fight.
Yeah, his knee was messed up. But even him, Kabayel, and then what's dude name? What's dude name that lost to Daniel DeBose? And what's dude name that Daniel DeBose beat?
Philip Ergovich.
Like, we just rattled off 15 dudes, Clay.
Yeah. He's not competing with those guys.
And Martin Bacoli against either one of them guys can lose.
Yeah. Jared's not a true heavyweight.
Another one. Thank you, Mohammed. F.A. Ajagba.
F.A. Ajagba, 100%.
And he fought. Who did he fight? A job I fought.
Recently a Jogbar in the last few months. Who did he fight? Oh
Yeah, because
God,
he
I know
just
who
fought
it is.
somebody and
Spanish dude.
no, it wasn't.
It wasn't a Mexican. Wasn't that? Hold on.
No, somebody he just got the upset win. Remember, he was the underdog, I think.
I'm about to tell you right now.
Oh no, damn. Yeah, that was 3 fights ago. Stephen Shaw, I was talking about.
Okay.
Man, that was 3 fights ago. A job I fought 3 times since then. That's activity.
Yeah, bro. You're not even
No.
that's a fight that am I spelling that right? IJAG,
Yeah,
IJAG.
EF. Yeah. So if you can't beat, you think he could beat Stephen Shaw? FA Jabba? Like, you know what I'm saying? Good or you're great. What's up, family? Like all those dudes in Salute to Marvelous Tracks in the building in Super Chat dropping that half a dub on the Center Super Chat. Any word on Wilder coming back? Also, it may be too late for Tank to get a real respectable fight within the next couple of years. What's good? What's a good bounce back fight for Haney? FK Teofimo, salute to you both. Salute to you, King.
Salute to you, King.
What's a good fight for Devin Haney comeback? For me, I like the Liam Paul fight. I like me personally, Clay. I want to see him in there with a puncher. I would like to see him in there with dude that just lost to Liam Paul.
Sabril?
Sabril, yeah, get back in there with a puncher and test yourself with your boxing skills. You know what I'm saying? I don't mind any of those fights with Devin. As far as T.O., yeah, T.O. is a different type of dude. Deontay Wilder come back? I don't know. There's so many.
He's another person that, Deontay Wilder is one of those fighters that has to be really motivated and really dare I say angry to a degree. Yes, he has to be ready to kill, and I don't think he's there, man. I think I'm gonna tell you the truth, bro. This is a big platform, and I know it's gonna go in them ears that gonna hear it. Malik Scott messed Deontay Wilder up, bro.
No, that's my guy. I think Malik.
Yeah, he messed him up, bro. I don't care. All that loving and all that crying and all that, all those retreats and mushrooms and getting him all into his emotions. He did it. He might have did a good thing for Deontay as far as Deontay's life is concerned, as far as positive thinking is concerned. But his fighting spirit,
no, but you got,
compromised.
but that's not Malik though. That's just D.
Yeah, but
he didn't.
I feel like if he was with the Mark Brelands, it's kind of like Mickey and Rocky. Like Rocky was always had like this gentle spirit about him. That Mickey had this ability to bring out a dog out of him, like scream on him, like stop playing around. You know what I'm saying? Like he had that. He didn't have pity on him. Malik embraced the sensitivity, hugged him when he needed to be hugged on. You know what I mean? Just didn't. Boy, what are you talking about, man? You know what I mean? He needs that. He needs that. You better go out here and do this work. Like, I didn't see Malik was just on some like Malik looks like a good dude, bro. Really does. I swear. You know what I mean? Respect.
Yeah, he's a great dude.
He looks like he is. He looks like he compromised Deontay's fighting spirit. That fighting spirit just looks like it went away, bro. It's just not there anymore. I don't see it.
But that's the thing. Like, so I'm close to the situation.
For sure. That's why I said I knew. I know about what I'm about to say is definitely gonna go.
and I can understand from the outside looking in.
Right.
But it's not something that Malik can. Deontay is strong-willed, strong-minded.
Right. I've heard that about him.
You pretty much you ain't gonna tell him
right.
That ain't gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? So Malik is like, all right, if that works for you. You know what I'm saying? If you feel like that works for you, you got to get away, because this is what people don't realize with that situation is that he was contemplating retirement.
Boom.
You see what I'm saying? So he was looking at the situation like, do I even need to fight? You know what I'm saying? He's in his music bag, you know what I'm saying? He's financially set. He don't live, he don't live like 20 gold chains and 50 houses and 20 cars. He don't live like that. He got one Bentley that he's been driving forever. He got his motorcycle. He's a country boy. You know what I'm saying? His yard is he turned his yard into his playground. Dunes. He got dunes where he ride his dirt bikes, his ATVs, mudslides.
That
You know what
silk
I'm saying?
sheet stuff.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
got his pond back there. You know what I mean? So he always been living a Zen life. You know what I'm saying? The thing with me is that I think that if anything, it was that remember he got in the sport of boxing for his kids.
Right.
They already taken care of. You know what I'm saying? Like at this point, he exceeded his own expectations.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? So at that point, he was just fighting for himself. You know what I mean? And improve it to himself. That's it. That's all. You know what I
Right.
mean? And so, uh, 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 he has people that bring that type of spirit. You know what I'm saying? He Malik is a technician. You know what I'm
Mm-hmm.
saying? Trying to bring the technical side out of him, trying to get him to focus on the techniques and the skills, and you know what I'm saying?
And that's another thing I think compromised him. That you're going to be this boxer all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? Like, I
Well,
think Deontay.
you know what it is that he in the amateurs he was boxing. He had the boxing skills. Hence the reason why he won a bronze medal. And then there was fights. Remember the first Bermain-Stavern fight and the fight
Right.
with Chris Arreola. He was boxing.
Yeah. Even with Luis Ortiz,
Yeah,
he had a boxing fight. That's probably his
yeah,
best boxing version of him that I ever seen was against Luis Ortiz. You know what I'm saying?
right. So Malik was just trying to sharpen up and teach him what he you know what I'm saying. So you at 34 years old, you know what I'm saying,
I mean,
34,
but so I
35.
mean, at the end of the day, is he just done? I mean, is this boxing chapter of his life, behind him at this point? Because look, the heavyweight division is one of the divisions. Boxing in general, you don't play, right? But the
Mhm.
heavyweight division is a division where you don't need to be, like you saw what just happened with Frazier Clark and Fabio Wardley. You know what I'm saying? This is not a
Right,
game. Like that dude had a dent in his head, had the egg form shape, you know what I'm saying, in the
right.
side of his head, just like Deontay did. These boys are not punching with pillows around their hand, right? A wise man once told me the gloves in boxing ain't to protect the boxer who's getting punched, it's to protect the hand of the boxer who's punching. You know
Mhm.
what I'm saying? So where do we put Deontay Wilder right now? Even in front of an Anthony Joshua at this point, I question Deontay's ability to turn that into something that's going to work out for him, because Anthony's just more of a straight puncher. And he just didn't seem to have it in him to pull that trigger against Zhilei Zhang. You know what I mean? Well, I'll say with Joseph Parker, he chose not to pull the trigger. He decided to box and show the world something. But in Zhilei, it just looked like his hands was tied to his side. Like he just wasn't going to let his hands go.
Yeah, but you know what it is, like Trey and our dream dude. Salute family. He said Malik Scott is not the right fit for Wilder. He's a yes man. Don't like him for no. See, y'all get the complete misconception of Malik.
Mm.
Malik in camp is not that guy. Trust me. He's not. He ain't nobody's yes man. Believe that. He's just a
So
very humble person outside of once it's in the he steps outside, there's no need. He don't feel a need to be aggressive and all that. In behind when he go, no, he gonna work you
mhm.
and you gonna respect him. He's
so
not
so then so is Deontay just done? It's not Malik? What is it? Because
no,
ever
I
since he's
just think
gone over
that
to Malik, he hasn't been.
you got to think, right? People don't this is something that people really don't take to right?
Mhm.
No what's the word I'm looking for?
Notice of or.
Notice of, right?
Mhm.
Those fights with Fury took something out of both of them. Fury ain't the same guy either. You know what I'm saying? It's just that Fury
I
won the
agree with
fight.
that.
Fury just won the fights. He ain't the same guy that fought Wilder in 2 and 3.
100%. I agree with that. I definitely agree
No,
with that.
because they took a lot out of each other. It's just like Muhammad Ali after the Joe Frazier fights, he wasn't the same guy anymore. You
Mhm.
know what I'm saying? Those fights took a lot out of them. You know what I mean? And it's just something that it doesn't matter who Fury or Wilder is with as a trainer. They how they respond. First of all, they both over 35. You ain't
Right.
gonna teach them how much more are you going to teach them? You know what I mean? It comes down to want and what do they have left to be able to have their body respond. You
Right.
know what I'm saying? Malik is somebody that drills it into D, bro. Here, drop the right. You know what I'm saying? Like, but when you get under the lights, if you don't let the hands go, it ain't nothing your trainer could do. You know what I'm
Like
saying?
for example, I saw videos of their training when I seen Wilder doing that spinneroonie thing he was doing during training. Right, he did that in the fight. You know what I mean? So that was a bad habit that came up inside of that training camp, and for me, it just looked like Wilder was retired, having just
And so you see, like he's always been doing that.
playful and doing
Yeah,
that
when
during camp.
he get because what those moments that you see captured is not what they're doing. You see what I'm saying? Like that is the end.
He did it
Like,
in the fight though.
yeah, I know. But what I'm saying is like he's he's always been once the day is winding down, it's over. He's in a joking mood. You know what I'm saying?
What do you think about Mark Breland saying that Deontay Wilder was very difficult to work with? That getting him on the gym on time was hard. He couldn't get him to do road work. He couldn't get him to when it got hard, it was his way, which was I'm done for the day, rather than what normally a coach like, when you think about the old school coaches, right? Like the Teddy Atlases and the even the Ronnie Shields and the Bozy Ennises and those guys who just aren't trying to hear that you telling me what you're gonna do. They're not hearing that, right? Like, you're not telling me it's over. It's not over, bro. Get back in the ring or get back on that treadmill. Or I'm not. What are you talking about? You're not telling me nothing, bro. You hired me to do a job. That's what's gonna get done. Those coaches bred the best fighters. Would those coaches be sitting there allowing him to do spinneroonies in the ring and having a good time? Are they there for that? Is Derek there for that? Is Derek James doing that? Is what I'm saying? Are these trainers who have championship fighters coming out of their stables, unified champions, allowing that kind of stuff? And I agree, and I understand that he's a strong-willed minded person, right? He's a strong-minded person, but how productive is that in becoming the best fighter you can become?
Right.
I mean, look, he did great
So,
things. He
so
defended
my
his
thing,
his title so many times. It might be behind him at this point.
no, you know what it is. See, it is winning cures everything. When you
Mhm,
lose, it's highlighted.
mhm,
Right.
mhm.
This ain't what he's doing. He's always been that. He was doing that with Mark when I was in
Okay,
camp.
okay.
So it's you know what I'm saying. It's not like when he's winning, you don't hear nothing about it.
That's a fact. Winning puts
It's
perspective on everything.
when as soon as he lose, now it's like, well, he don't do this. He been doing the same thing. He was
Right,
doing it with Mark, and again, like I said, his training camps is very intense.
right.
And then he, when he's winding down at the end of the day, you know what I mean? He's somebody that he because he's so intense throughout the entire day. To put it this way, when I've been in his camps a few times,
Mhm.
when you go in his camps, he's so intense, you can hear a pin drop. There's no joking, there's no playing. That like he did the little spin thing, you know what I mean? Like he
Mhm.
used to do like he did it with Bemain Stavern, right?
Mhm.
He gets
Uh-huh.
it. Those are things you can't a fighter's gonna do it. Like Ryan Garcia went to the shoulder roll or T.O. do, you know what I'm saying? Like your trainer is not gonna advise you to do that. You know what I'm saying? Like, so remember when he fought Bemain Stavern, he did the and it hit him, you know what I'm saying? Like
Mhm.
those are just things that click in his head, you know what I mean? Like, but when you in
Like,
camp
like
with
he
him,
can do those things with the right fighters, but when you're talking about, I guess for me it was just telling because when it came down to, he never got an opportunity to unify, to be a unified champion before Tyson Fury, and it seemed like a lot of the fighters like the Dylan Whites, the Chisoras, the Joseph Parkers, these fighters for some reason Deontay was never getting an opportunity to fight against these fighters, and we always wondered what they were going to do with that kind of power. Deontay just seemed like he was going to dominate all the way through the space, even up to Anthony Joshua. Most people favored Deontay Wilder to do great things against Anthony Joshua, but it just seemed like as soon as he got his opportunity, to show improve. Maybe it was just too late. Against Tyson Fury, he had his moments, but I mean, even in the first fight when he pretty much knocked Tyson Fury out, and I think a lot of referees would have just waved that fight off and not even given that dude the 10 count. But he got the 10 count and he got up. Tyson Fury was still able to get up and dominate the rest of that round, get up and outbox him. He outboxed him for most of that fight. The second fight, he boxed a little bit better, but he got exposed, and stopped in that fight. That's when he fired Mark Brealing. And the third fight was probably his best showing, right? That's when he did his most improvement. But still, it just seems like it made you question, was Deontay ever at that level to compete at a level to become an undisputed champion, to be able to unify once he got into those conversations?
Well, see, my thing with it is that Styles made fights, and Tyson Fury, ain't nobody getting up from Tyson those punches. He's the only person that ever got up.
Yeah, it was crazy. I couldn't believe it. Yeah. It was watching the Undertaker from wrestling. Right. The way he got, I was like, Jesus.
So even in those fights, right?
Mm-hmm.
We got to think, he dropped Tyson Fury 5 times in those 3 fights.
Yes, sir.
Nobody gets up from that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, different.
Tyson Fury was just different. You know what I mean? Yeah. And his style, his size was a factor against D. You know what I mean?
You're right.
But even then, remember, he was getting outboxed at times with Luis Ortiz.
But he actually boxed well in that fight. That's what I said. That was one of his best fights.
Yeah, he was very patient. Remember, even what was it, the 8th round against Luis Ortiz, where he was hurt bad. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It was just that the right storm. You know what I mean? Tyson Fury's style, his size, and his will to say, nah, bro, I'm gonna keep getting up.
Yeah.
Because nobody else would have got up. And those 3 fights just took so much out of him that even in the second Ortiz fight, after the first Fury fight, right, you could see there was still something out of him. You know what I'm saying? In that fight. And then the next 2 fights, it was just, bro, it was so much. Those fights were so brutal. Bro, Tyson Fury couldn't remember things for 3 days.
Yeah, no, it was crazy.
It took him 3 days to get his memory correct.
And him choosing to stand there and fight him and not just box him, put him in a position to take a whole lot of trauma.
When Wilder hit you like that and you go down, you ain't getting up.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's another thing that's deflating. You know what I'm saying? Mike Tyson status. When Mike Tyson hit you, you that's it. When he was hitting Holyfield was getting up and dealing with it, it's a different type of response. You know what I'm saying? It's deflating. So I just think that, you know what I mean, like that played a major part in, you know what I mean, his body responding, you know what I mean? Getting his body to respond. So those little clips of him joking is just that those moments they ain't happening in throughout training camp. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And those are things I know for a fact. Being in camp, those things ain't happening like that.
So present day Deontay Wilder, are you ready to see him come back? Or is it about that time at this point?
Me personally, I don't even want to see him box no more. Ride off into the sunset for what?
100%, I agree with you.
For what? You got the bread. He a warrior, so I have no doubt he'll fight again.
If you're not making a run for titles and legacy, why risk? Why even play this game, especially in the heavyweight division?
I feel the same way about Anthony Joshua right now.
Right.
It's like,
but with Anthony, I'll say, like I said about Deontay, if you're making a run for titles, if you feel like you seriously can be in there and get and become a unified champion again and chasing undisputed, then do that. But don't play. Don't fight. You know, I hear people talking about, oh, fight Deontay. No, don't fight Deontay. That's not for titles. That's unnecessary risk to get your brains knocked out your head against somebody who's not going to even bring a title to you. Or I hear people be like, oh, maybe he's, no, he should be fighting either a rematch with Daniel Dubois or getting himself ready to fight Tyson Fury after the Alexander Usyk fight and hope that Tyson Fury becomes a unified champion. If you're not ready to fight those fights, bounce.
Me personally, if Joshua gonna fight again, if Fury win, then you fight Fury. If not, just I don't even want to see him fight Dubois no more.
Yeah, I think Dubois is gonna yeah, 100%.
What's the chances that he? I mean, like again, like we just said with D, right? He's going trainer to trainer to trainer. When he was with Derrick James, he still didn't look the same.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Then he went with what's his name? Oh boy that he's with now. I can see his face. But he with him
Who?
and who's training him right now?
Oh, Davidson, Ben Davidson.
Ben Davidson, right?
Right.
It looked good when the level of opponent he was facing.
Right.
Francis Ngannou, you know what I'm saying? Otto Valine. We like, oh man, Joshua
Wayne
back.
Franklin. Yeah.
He got right in there with somebody that had a heartbeat. No
And it
disrespect
got
to
bad
that.
for him. It got real bad for him.
It wasn't even competitive.
I think he made some mistakes though that he can fix. I think that his hands being low was ridiculous. Shout out to Showbiz, diabolical. I couldn't believe he would get in front of a Daniel Dubois with his hands low. Like I didn't understand
But
that
think,
at all.
these are mistakes that he did against Dillian White. He just
Yes.
came out on the right side of it, so it
Yeah.
covers it up. He
Right.
did it against Dillian White. Joseph Parker had him hurt. Remember, we was complaining about the ref just
Right.
not letting what I'm saying them fight through it. Uh, 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 you know, then we saw what happened with the Usyk fight. You know what I'm saying? It's just who you have in front of you. You know what I mean? And we seen it with Tyson Fury. He get hit with a punch. He was winning the fight. He started playing around. Again, see, like he does. See, Tyson Fury does the playing around the same way Wilder does, but he
Mm-hmm.
won. So we don't pay
Right.
it no attention.
Right. Winning
With
puts
him,
perspective on everything. Winning
yeah,
just
when he
erases
covered
all
it
the
up.
nonsense. Yep.
Remember, Tyson Fury joked around and got clipped by Usyk,
Mm-hmm.
playing around,
Right.
got clipped, and never recovered.
Right.
And then lost. You know what I'm saying? But
Right.
we don't think about it that way because that was his first loss. He didn't get knocked out. You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, like that heavyweight division, I just think that Fury and Wilder took so much. I don't see Fury, bro. Fury recovered quicker from Wilder than he did Usyk.
Yeah. Usyk had him just and I think that was a direct effect of Deontay Wilder.
Yeah,
I think
that's
he
what I'm
just
saying. Like,
his chin cracked.
there's so much
Yeah.
taken out of them, bro. Bro. You can't tell me that Usyk hit harder than Deontay Wilder.
Nah. He didn't even hit him hard. He hit him
That's
hard, but he didn't he just got caught the right spot and it just threw his whole equilibrium off. He got hit somewhere that was already fractured.
But Clay, he looked that same way against Francis Ngannou, who never boxed.
Yeah, Francis put him on his pockets.
Yeah, and what did we say? Well, we gave him a pass because we like, oh, he took it lightly.
Right.
No, we like he ain't look good against Ngannou, but he took it lightly. He ain't look great against Usyk.
Yeah. And shout out to Murari Salam. I agree with you on that. I think that Anthony Joshua has been known to make adjustments. I think he can make adjustments to make that fight with Daniel Dubois way more competitive than it was. He found success at the end of that fight right before he got reckless and went in there for that uppercut and leave his right hand down and got clipped by Daniel Dubois. He could fix those things. Those things can make him, he can be more competitive. He can be more defensively responsible. And I think as far as all those fights that were building him up, those fights weren't there to build him up skill-wise. They were there to build him up confidence-wise. Because I think there was a consensus that Anthony Joshua's issue was confidence. It wasn't necessarily boxing per se, like him being a good or a bad boxer. However you want to rate his boxing, that boxing got him to be a unified champion. And I think people had faith in his ability to bring it back to that conversation again. But I think his confidence was a thing that needed mending. And I think those fights helped him get his confidence back by allowing him to box and take his time. And that's why we thought Anthony Joshua was back. Then he got exposed, though.
And even that, Clay, I could push back on that.
Mm-hmm.
He didn't make adjustments in the rematch.
With who? With Andy?
No, he didn't make adjustments in none of his rematches, Anthony Joshua.
You don't think he made adjustments when he fought Usyk the second time, that he didn't come in more boxing,
He
more?
made slight adjustments, but it was a lot to do with what Usyk wasn't doing.
Okay. Okay.
Right? And I do give him credit because that referee, that terrible, nasty, stinking referee, that was the same referee with Usyk and Daniel Dubois, calling the same low blows on Anthony Joshua that he did on Daniel Dubois with Usyk.
Right.
The same nasty referee, right? Because
Right.
both those fights he should have lost because that was both knockouts.
Right.
The ref gave him extra time calling it low blows. Right? Anthony Joshua did better body work in the second fight, no doubt. He made slight, subtle adjustments, but not that much. And not enough to win because he lost again. And then the Andy Ruiz fight, the rematch, Andy Ruiz came in over 300 pounds.
Yeah, he was wild.
This dude did not train. He did not prepare, right? He did not commit to the rematch. I know this for a fact. Me and Andy went to eat pizza.
Boom.
You know what I'm saying? So Andy wasn't going to the gym. He was only going to the gym 2 to 3 times a week, if that. Right? He wasn't showing up to the gym. He wasn't training. He came in 300 pounds, outrageous, out of shape, living his best life, the fruits of his labor, and he couldn't cut the ring off. AJ just kept moving around. He couldn't because he was too out of shape. He couldn't. But remember, when they did exchange, Andy was getting the better of him, and that's why Anthony was like, "Let me get back on my bike."
That's a fact.
Yeah, so that rematch that don't even count. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, I think that if he thinks he can, by all means, go for it. Just don't take no light work. It just ain't worth it at this point. It's either shit on the pot or get off it. Shit or get off the pot because there's no more time. So if you're not going to fight and chase undisputed or being a unified champion or rematch with Daniel Dubois, that's something that's not realistic for you right now because you still have preparation to do or you still have adjustments that need to be made. That's going to take multiple fights like it did in between Usyk and Daniel Dubois. We're not trying to watch that, and I think you're just taking risks for no reason. I think eventually somebody gonna punch you in the way you just every fight is a fight that needs a count or you need to stop fighting.
All right, and that's what I'm saying. So a rematch with Dubois is going to tell us everything we need to know. Dog fight in the building in the super chat, dropping that cinco on this in the super chat. Salute Blue and Clay. Jamal fighting December 14th. He back in the gym looking good. Yeah, he fighting. He's trying to fight Demetrius Andrade on that undercard. LT, my brother in the building in the super chat, dropping that cinco on this in the super chat. He says, "Sorry, Blue, I got to do it. Did you see the fight last Sunday?" Oh man, here you go. Mustafa got dropped. Here you go. I was waiting for him to do it. Here you go. Here he go. Yeah, he got dropped, bro. He got nasty. He's talking about our safety, Mustafa.
That's why I was about to say he sounded like he talking about football.
Yeah, our safety, Mustafa, got ran over. Yo, Patrick Mahomes just ran him over at the goal line. Literally. Just dropped his shoulder and just Mac trucked him. I'm talking feet up in the air and everything. And scored a touchdown. And he didn't even hit the ground. Never hit the ground. Salute to Hunter in the super chat. He said, "What do you think of Inoue and Nakatani fight?" I like it, man. What you think about it, Clay?
Man, listen, don't start me up on this because that is a fight that I want to see so bad. Listen, man, that is a fight that I need to see. I don't know how it comes together, to be honest with you. It would require Nakatani because I believe Nakatani's fighting at 118 right now. Inoue at 122, seemingly on his way out of 122 at some point. I'm not sure if they stripped Inoue of his belt. I know that that's what they said happened, but I don't know if they were able to come up with some kind of agreement. He's supposed to be fighting Sam Goodman in December. So he's not going to be an undisputed champion. Nakatani would have to make a move up to 122 right now. He's only a WBC champion at 118 from what I understand. I don't know, man. I don't want them to miss each other because it seems like Inoue because I also want to see Inoue play around at 126 because I think 126 is just waiting for Inoue to become one of those divisions. But if that fight was able to come together, I think we get a chance to see one of the best fights. You know, these two Japanese fighters would deliver us the fight that I think people might have wanted to see with Dmitry Bivol and Artur Beterbiev, or even, you know, it's kind of like a Terence Crawford, Errol Spence, what you wanted to see out of that fight that you didn't see. I think that fight has the ability to deliver that kind of action because both of them are going to go forward, a lot of high level boxing, they're not scared to put their O's on the line. It'd be crazy. So needless to say, super excited about that fight if it was able to come together, but I do question how it would come together because they would either have to like push Nakatani up into 122 and throw him right into a fight because I don't see Inoue staying at 122 much longer. But great fight. Great fight. Hope that answered your question, Hunter. You know what I mean? Hope that puts some perspective on it. Great fight. Yeah, Silverstream, Shushu at 126. Yeah, man. Even though Shushu I was just talking about it with Edwin over there at round one. Shushu Carrington is going to, I got faith in him, man. I think he's going to learn from that last fight, and I think we're going to see something great, something even better than what we thought. I think this version of him. Go ahead.
Yeah, he definitely got to improve off of it, but I do think that he will improve.
Yeah.
I definitely feel like he'll improve. Stormy B, man, he said you guys are forgetting Dubois' trainer Charles was an original that worked with AJ. He knows AJ's strengths and weaknesses. Okay. What you think about that?
I mean, I think that held weight too. I gave a lot of respect to Don Charles on that corner. I gave a lot of respect to him. I thought that was a big I think there was a loss in there for Ben Davidson. You know, it was very similar to the Derek James and Bomac situation when Terence and Errol fought, where I was like, the coaches are going to be just as much part of this conversation as the fighters are. And I thought in this situation, Don Charles and Ben Davidson was going to be in the conversation because Ben Davidson was basically putting Dubois out there as somebody who had a lot of holes in his game, and Anthony Joshua was going to easily take advantage of that based off the fact that Filip Ergovic was hitting him so cleanly in the fight that they had. It seemed as if Don Charles took that a little personally and was like, that wasn't how we trained Daniel Dubois to fight. That was just something that happened to happen, and we're going to fix that. And I think in that fight against AJ, you saw the adjustment. You saw Daniel Dubois become way more defensively responsible. He had the better jab in the fight where people thought Anthony Joshua was going to have the straighter jab. Daniel Dubois had it. And I think a lot of that, you got to give credit to Don Charles and what he saw. And what he saw in Daniel Dubois. And like the gentleman said, I remember his name said, also him having the experience with Anthony Joshua, knowing that Anthony Joshua would be susceptible to a lot of that pressure and that mid-range and smothering of Anthony Joshua's power and his ability to, completely extend on his punches and also in his ability to take punches as well. So a lot of respect to Don Charles.
Mm-hmm. Stormy, where you at, man? Stormy, click the link.
Cheese.
My brother, Charles Edwin Cheese is in the building. What's up, Cheese? Dogfight, what's up? Hen Dog, the fearless one, what's up, Henry? Stormy, hit the link, Stormy. If you still there, Stormy, come chop it up with us, man. I'm not opposed to the rematch.
Right.
But right. I didn't see anything that told me it's going to be different.
Yeah, I think Daniel Dubois wins. I think he wins the rematch completely. But I do believe it can be a way more competitive fight than it was. Way more competitive.
And I don't see that.
You think he's just going to run him over quicker this time?
I don't think it's going to be quicker, but I don't see AJ having many big moments. I just think that it might. The most confidence at all-time high, and AJ in the back of his head, he ain't got the. I don't think he got the confidence. I think he's gonna be second guessing himself. See, when he lost to Stormy, I'm putting the link right now in the chat. When he lost to was it Usyk, right? He didn't get knocked down and knocked out and all those things. You know what I'm saying? This fight, he got knocked out, like the Andy Ruiz fight. And remember, he was running from Andy Ruiz.
Yeah.
He was not trying to engage. He can't do that with Daniel Dubois. You see what I'm saying? Like, Daniel Dubois is not going to come in 300 pounds, completely out of shape, not be able to cut the ring off. No, he going to have to engage with him. And in the back of his mind, he going to be second guessing himself, and he ain't trying to get hit. I just can't see it. You see what I'm saying? I just don't. I don't see him taking punches. I just don't see him engaging. He can't. He can't. Daniel Dubois is quick. Shockingly, I thought Dubois was going to be slower than him. But
nah, man, I knew Daniel Dubois, and that's another thing with Daniel's. Like, I knew when I remember just back in the day when I was looking at Daniel Dubois, like, yo, this dude's gonna be a problem in the division, because I just knew that he brought a pedigree of boxing and athleticism that just wasn't really common in the space. Only Anthony Joshua really was bringing that pedigree, and Anthony Joshua just always rubbed me as somebody who just kind of had a privileged energy in the boxing space, where even though he may have came from humble beginnings, it just seemed like there was a certain, like, gentleman, just, he was groomed properly, you know what I mean, in life, and just didn't have that hunger and that street, that need to fight that I think he needed to be the fighter that he could be. Because athletically, when you looked at Anthony Joshua, you thought, oh man, this guy's gonna be a problem. But as soon as he opened his mouth, started talking, and you started to be like, oh, this guy's, about a cup of tea and an English muffin, right? So, but when you looked at Daniel, I knew Daniel's father, and I knew Daniel Dubois was just a grittier dude with that athleticism. I expected him to do great. I was very shocked to see the way it ended up between him and Joe Joyce. Even with the Usyk fight, I was like, he won that fight. That Daniel Dubois, but once again, he showed me the heart was in question. Daniel was always going to be that guy in the heavyweight division for me.
See, that's the thing, right, Clay? It was his heart. After the Joe Joyce fight, it seemed like something changed in his. I was on board with you. Up until the Joe Joyce, I picked him. I thought he was going to beat Joe Joyce, right? He just was more athletic, more powerful. But it seemed like something clicked that he was like, what? Like his body language spoke to. Remember that fight Victor Ortiz had, where he was like with Madonna. He was like, man,
he just walked away and he just stopped.
Yeah, remember he was like, I'm too young to be going through all this.
Right,
man.
I remember it.
Yeah, like, why am I doing this? Like, why am I putting myself?
He said, why am I doing this to myself?
Yeah,
he was basically making it sound like I don't need to be getting punched on like this.
He was questioning himself, and it was like Daniel Dubois. I felt like a switch clicked with Daniel Dubois, and he was the same way. He was like, what am I doing? Why am I doing this? You know what I'm saying? After the Joe Joyce fight. And then he had who did he fight after Joe Joyce? And he got knocked down in that fight. And it seemed like he was getting ready to flip that switch, but then he got a knockout. I don't remember who it was. But then it was just like I don't know, man. I was starting to question his mentality. And then it's like he got his second win. But I'm like, man, when Joshua start putting the pause on him, he gonna go resort right back to that guy, but he didn't. He was aggressive. He was hungry. It was like he took every bit of everything, all the doubt, all the negativity, the people saying he quit. He took all of that out on Anthony Joshua in that fight. Like that was the perfect moment. And I don't think he's going to. I don't think he's going backwards, going forward.
Nah, he's got something. He has two things. And once again, Blue. That coach, man, the trainer makes a difference. He's got the kind of trainers that are going to pull the animal out of him. They're going to, when he's acting like he wants to get all timid and he wants to lay back or he wants to have a different kind of mentality, you're going to hear Don Charles screaming over the whole crowd, flipping on him, Daniel, I need you. You're going to hear that shit, and Daniel's going to know. You're going to have his father sitting outside the ring screaming at him in between rounds while he has that corner that's not going to allow him to not be the Daniel Dubois that we're seeing, and he didn't have that necessarily before. You know what I'm saying? Don Charles, was Don Charles in his corner for the Joe Joyce fight? I don't think so. I don't think Don Charles was there for the Joe Joyce fight. He was there for the Usyk fight, you know what I mean? But he wasn't there for the Joe Joyce fight. So, yeah, man, he ain't going back. He's here to stay. This version of him, you're going to have to knock him out, and you're going to have to show the world. And whoever beats Daniel Dubois at this point is going to be that's going to be a sign of a great fighter, because Daniel Dubois is not going to lay down easily. So if you get him, I got to give you so much credit. He seems damn near unbeatable right now. Damn near.
Salute the dog fight in the super chat. He said AJ versus Wilder is still a valid fight. Man, I think
the time has passed, man.
Time has passed, man. We got my brother, Stormy B-Man, one of the last historians here on these YouTube, on these social media platforms. What's up with you, Stormy?
Yo, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, because I didn't know. I'm actually in my vehicle, and I didn't know if the audio was hooked up correctly. So, hey, thanks for inviting me on, man. Long time we got a chance to chop it up. Salute to you, man. Brothers.
It's been a minute, man. No, we hear you clear, Stormy.
Stormy kind of sound like no joke a little bit.
Yeah. So, Stormy, what you think about the topics we've been touching on thus far?
Well, you guys have been having a great conversation. I mean, what specifically? I know I chimed in on the on my comments about Don Charles and the whole experience with he and Dubois and AJ, because I think that that's a significant part of what went down with them. Don Charles, and I've been paying a lot of attention to UK broadcast interviews and everything, because you know we don't always get the full scoop on things over here, so it's always good to kind of invest and listen to what's happening over there. And he said something leading up to that fight that I found very profound about his former relationship with AJ. Mm-hmm. He said that once AJ looked at him across the corner on fight night, he was going to know he couldn't win the fight. And see, that was something that you couldn't calculate because it's psychological. AJ is for the success that he has garnered in his career. He's one of the most psychologically fragile fighters that we've seen at the top of the sport in a very long time.
I agree.
And he hasn't been able to mask that very well, but he's been protected and coddled. And when I say that, some people may take it in an extremely negative sense, but it is what has happened. Ed Hearn has taken a lot and shielded a lot from him. They've kept him away from very confident, accomplished guys like a Deontay Wilder. Deontay was very confident when he approached his opponents and things. That's one of the reasons why AJ seemed to really shut down when they had the Day of Reckoning card and he was in Deontay's presence. It was just something psychological with the guy.
Right.
And Don Charles understands this aspect of him. It doesn't matter if it was Derek James, if it was Robert Garcia, or even now Ben Davison. They are not able to tap into what will be able to get him over the hump. And that's something psychological. Those men are not noted for those things. They are noted for tacticians and being able to build someone from a skill standpoint and everything. But sometimes there are trainers who can cross that line and also deal with someone who may have psychological deficiencies. And it is a real thing in our society. When you don't pay enough attention to that, it's an easy thing to overlook. AJ came out in round one, the bell rang, he immediately had his chin high up in the air and his hands low. And he hadn't fought like that in his last several fights.
Insanity.
He lost it mentally. Just like Charles said, when he looked across the ring and see us, he's not going to be able to win the fight. Isn't that the way it played out?
I agree with you 100%, Stormy B, man.
1,000%. Yeah.
You know, we were speaking about a little bit earlier, just talking about the roles of those great trainers, those great coaches who can bring that out of their own fighter. But also, I said it was going to be a fight not only between Daniel Dubois and Anthony Joshua. The corners were super involved in this fight. You know, Don Charles was not going to be denied, and the question was Ben Davison going to be involved? And it just looked like, in my opinion, that Ben Davison just wasn't able to be there for the show as well. He looked weak in himself talking. They both looked defeated, Anthony Joshua and Ben Davidson. But when you looked over to the other corner, it just seemed like you had a team that just wasn't going to be denied in Don Charles and Daniel Dubois. And you can even include Daniel Dubois' father as well. They're not going to allow Daniel Dubois to not have that fire in him. You're going to hear Don. You think about the fights you've heard Don Charles training Daniel Dubois. You can hear him above everybody else. When he gets that passion and starts feeling like Daniel's not doing something, you can hear him screaming over everybody. Daniel, like, he's just going to bring it out of him. And Don Charles wasn't going to be denied. He was going to allow Daniel Dubois to deny him or himself of being a champion that night. It wasn't going to happen. You know, the coaches play a huge role in how this thing. Some of these fights, the trainers play a huge role. I said the same thing with Terence Crawford and Errol Spence, and the role that Bomac and Derek was going to play. And this was going to be, you know, there's going to be a lot of the corner, a lot of a team effort in what we saw happen in the ring that night. Bomac had a victory just like Terence did.
So how you see the rematch playing out, Stormy?
Storm, are you there? I think you're muted, or your audio is bad, because if you're talking, we don't hear you.
I think his audio might be bad. Darius Gilliard, what's up? So you think that, Clay? You think that's you know, like Stormy? That's just the psychological edge that he's going to have over him.
Yeah, I think Stormy hit it right on the nail when he said about Anthony Joshua having one of the most sensitive psyches in the division, in boxing probably today as we know it. I mean, he's affected a lot by the outside of the ring. Things are affecting Anthony Joshua in a way that you don't see a lot of fighters going through that same thing. And that's why I said that the fights that you saw in between the Alexander Usyk fight going all the way up until this fight right now were fights that were there mainly to build his confidence, or to build his psyche up, because that was the main thing that I think people were feeling like was hurting him. That was the reason for these fights, where he was able to box and walk away with these victories, and then, you know, get those stoppages on Otto Wallin and get that stoppage on Francis Ngannou. That was a significant win for Anthony Joshua, even though Francis Ngannou wasn't your everyday boxer and wasn't really that experienced. With him being able to knock Ngannou out, you know, one could argue gave him a lot of confidence and brought a version of him back that we wanted to see compete at a high level. But, you know, in that ring with Daniel Dubois that night, he fell short. He really didn't look like that was all a facade, and he was still in his mental space in a bad place.
There go that dude, Jamal Rogers. Are you going to hit the link, Jamal Rogers, or are we getting you up out of here? Which one? We gave you an option yesterday. So you going to hit the link, or you up out of here? Which one? Let me know what you're doing. So anyway, while he decides what he's going to do, you know,
like that about. Did you see the Catterall? I saw somebody mention it, and I did see it, and I saw Regis Prograis kind of expose Catterall's trainer a little bit, had that recording. What's up with these dudes in the Fed games, man? They get real federal on you, right?
Bro, why did he record him?
That was crazy diabolical, bro. When he popped it off and hit the play, I'm like, oh, this dude is different. He different, bro. What did you record that for?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, he was right? But why did he record that though?
That sounded like a private phone call. It was crazy. It was different, man. That thing hit different. I ain't gonna lie. When I heard it, I was laughing. I'm like, yo, Regis, what are you out here doing? What is this?
It's just nasty work. And then the worst part is, old boy said, I don't even know Jack Catterall. I didn't know him then. Mind you, in the recording, he says, I know Jack Catterall very well, and you're going to flatten him. Like, bro, nasty work, bro. But
it was a good move as far as having that recording. I get it, but it just, the act of recording is gonna, you know, that just like, that makes somebody, I know that would make me personally feel weirded out about talking to him on the phone. I feel weirded out.
It's nasty work, bro.
Yo, there are people out here who moving like that, bro. There are people out here that are moving like that you don't know. They'll be recording your phone call, bro, because they're trying to get some information on you to use for. Think about how long he held that recording to his chest
That
before
was
he finally
years.
And he just had that saved somewhere. He
Yeah,
had that
like,
ready to go for
bro, how did you even know where to go to find that? It's nasty work, bro.
That was crazy.
But so what do you think about that fight in itself, though?
I think it's a fight that a lot is on the line, and because of that, I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be a great fight. Some people feel like it's a fight that means nothing, right? Because they feel like these dudes aren't in the conversation of 140 pounds right now. With everything going on 140 pounds, when you think about the fights that are up there, you know, Regis Prograis, Jack Catterall doesn't come to mind as fights that mean something. But I do think whoever wins this fight gets to be in the conversation, and his next fight will be a huge fight at 140, being that 140 is disshuffled a little bit with the way T.O.'s moving right now, and Devin Haney kind of being in his hiatus. And, you know, it seems like Liam Power's the only real active champion in the space right now. Sabril Matias seems to taking a little bit of a hiatus, and now he's left Matchroom and he's with a whole nother promotional company and a whole nother platform that's going to be showcasing his fights. So it does give an opportunity for whoever wins this fight to get in that conversation, and whoever loses this fight at the same time, I think it might be over with as far as their star power, their ability to headline a card, their ability to be in a big fight. I think that's going to hurt whoever loses this fight in that kind of way, especially Regis Prograis, right, who just coming off of a devastating loss with Devin Haney, another dominant loss. Jack Catterall exposing him or making him look horrible might give Regis the kick in his ass he needs to go ahead and move forward and head into his retirement. So because of that, I expect this fight to be competitive. I think Regis wants to be back in the title contention. I think he wants to maybe even run it back with Devin at some point. So obviously Jack Catterall is going to be the guy in front of him. Jack Catterall is bringing a good boxing pedigree with him. It seems like Regis doesn't like boxers. You know what I mean? We'll see if he gets to check that box and answer those questions this weekend and see if he's able to deal with those boxers. Against Joshua Taylor, fell short. That was a boxer. Obviously against Devin Haney, we saw what happened. Even against, I can't remember his first name, something Zorro. I can't remember what his name is.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, he won that fight, but a lot of people are like, nah, bro, that dude was boxing your ears off. So he doesn't do well with those boxers. Jack Catterall is aware of that. Jack Catterall is tried true. He was able to beat Josh Taylor twice, even though the first time they didn't give him the win. I think we agree that he beat him the first time as well, and just beat him worse the second time. He's a tried true fighter, probably the favorite going into this fight. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think if Regis is going to have to press the fight, he better not do what he did with Devin, which is try to sit behind a jab, try to be this boxer. He's going to get outclassed. He needs to pressure, smother, and throw Jack Catterall off his game as much as he can. Cut the ring off, keep this fight a mid-range fight. Don't allow Jack Catterall to just let his hands go freely like that, pressure him and walk him into something bad. It's going to be more easier said than done, but I think it's going to be a good fight watching him try to do it.
Yeah, I just think that stylistically, it's going to be a problem.
Yeah.
He's a southpaw. He's a mover. He's slick. He's awkward. And Regis seems to struggle, especially with counter punches, because he makes big mistakes, very obvious mistakes. And when you're a counter puncher that makes big obvious mistakes, and you got somebody like, you're a counter puncher and you're going against somebody that makes clear, big, obvious mistakes, that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he has holes in his game. You can see the lack of development. Like you could tell he started boxing late when he boxes. You can tell that he started like 15 years old or something. You know what I mean? Like 14, 15, 16. He gets showed up when he gets in the high level boxing competitions. He gets showed up.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How you doing, Stormy? Oh, he back. That's what it was. Stormy took it. He had to get off the phone. Like, let me get my equipment going because my phone playing with my emotions. I ain't even doing this, bro.
Exactly. I was actually en route on my way home, man. And as soon as when I pulled into my driveway, the signal got funny. So I apologize for that. But you were asking me, what did I think about a rematch?
Yeah.
Right.
Between Dubois and Joshua?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
I think that Dubois really decapitates him even more massively in the second fight. In other words, I'm talking about maybe put him down for good. It's like, he got dropped a few times in the first meeting. Second time around, he gonna fold him like a garden chair in the summertime when it starts raining.
Bring it in, bring in the furniture, bring the furniture inside.
And I'll tell you why I say that. It's because of the psychological factor. Daniels has shot through the roof. He had an affirmation that he has truly arrived as a world champion. Joshua is questioning everything now. Am I real? Are what they saying about me true? You know, it's like, has Eddie lied to me? All of that. Now, Ben Davison, I told you, he's not the psychological coach. He can tell him the X's and O's. Yeah, that's fine. He understands boxing from that standpoint. But with a fighter like Joshua, it requires a lot more. It's just like when Cuss was working with Mike Tyson. He knew the buttons to press with Mike like nobody else. Ironically, Teddy Atlas didn't have that at that time. But Kevin Rooney was able to do exactly what Cuss needed him to do to keep Mike in a certain place. If you notice, it was when Kevin Rooney was ousted after the Spinks fight that Tyson's everything changed for him. The psychological aspect of it is so important. People don't realize this. That's why it's good in life. Like when you tell your children, when they do something, you give them good spiritual encouragement. Oh, that's great, honey. Oh, you draw so well. Oh, good job. Well done. Because it builds over time.
Yes,
when
sir.
you don't do that, they are left to the devices of the world. And look at our society today, because our young ones are influenced heavily by everything external, because
Seeking
everything
outside
is so
validation.
accessible now. So if you are failing at home as the overseer of the household, the nurturer, what will happen is those external elements can take greater part and greater hold of influence.
Yes, sir.
So in boxing, believe it or not, and I talk about this on my show that's called Tuesday Tussle every Tuesday. I always talk about life and boxing being a marriage of things, and it's so similar because it's an ongoing fight. You fight for your breath every second that you're living. You don't think of life in those increments of time, but it's true. If you were taking a nap and someone came and put a pillow over your head, what would you do? Struggle for your breath, right?
Right.
This is what I'm talking about. But unless someone is put in those circumstances, they don't relate to that because the convenience of what you think you know. And that's how, I operate. Even when I was working with guys in the gym, I would tell them these things. Look, what I'm telling you here, you can apply out there. When you go out in everyday life, you will be able to take bits and pieces of what I'm sharing with you and apply it to everyday life. Once I know that I'm doing that, I know that I'm giving something of value to who I'm working with that they can carry on way beyond me.
Right.
And I can tell you, not enough times have I come across people that I've worked with, haven't seen them in years or whatever, and they say, hey, man, listen, I still remember some of the stuff you told me and this and that, man, you were some. That's very gratifying.
Right.
Because if you've had a teacher in school that did that same kind of thing for you, if you were to see them years later or whatever, wouldn't you pay the same type of homage to them? Because 100%. Of the impact that they made on your life.
Yes, sir.
This is why, like when I talk about fights and the sport, I'm speaking from a different point. I'm not speaking as a fan, a guy that just sits up with a beer and watches boxing.
Yes, sir.
I was involved with the sport for over 15 years. I know professionals and amateurs, but these principles don't change.
Right.
That's why when you ask me these things, I can give you an extended response because it's not shallow at all. I can get deeper and deeper and deeper, but that's not what we're here to do. But I'm just explaining my position because you have people out there that's even in your chat and watching your show right now. They may be saying, what the hell is this dude talking about? Let's get back up.
You're speaking about the intangibles. You're speaking about the
important pieces.
Right.
The message is not for everybody.
Yes, sir.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Yes, sir.
And I can't help that.
Right.
doesn't want to be helped.
How do they say, Stormy? Everybody can't go.
Exactly. And I say it all the time. My saying is everybody ain't gonna make it.
Yeah,
it's gonna go over some people's head.
Absolutely. But yeah,
do you think the lack, Stormy, do you think the lack of these intangibles is showing and proving in boxing today? Like when you're seeing some of these fighters who have so much promise, right? But then you see them fall short. Is it these intangibles that are falling in place, that are not getting these guys where they needed to go? Like you're talented, you have talent, but you don't have that right coach in the corner who's bringing that fire, that intangible, that like you said, what Ben Davidson needed to bring as far as psychologically to Anthony Joshua's game to make him be the fighter he needs to be to fight a Daniel Dubois. Is that missing more today than, let's say, back in the day? Was that more prominent back in the day that you would normally see a trainer have that effect and control and that credibility with their fighter?
Absolutely. Listen, there are trainers who can give you what's required, what you need. In today's time, what's interesting is there are fighters who come to the sport not because they're good athletically, to participate in this. Some of them think that they, well, I used to fight a lot on the street. You hear that a lot from guys today. I used to fight a lot on the street. Everybody fight on the street, man. It's like, it doesn't make you special. And because you won a few street battles, that doesn't mean anything either. That's just like if you can go outside right now and there's a basketball court where guys are playing, and some of them play all day, every day. That don't mean they know the game.
They're not ready for the NBA. Yeah, they're not ready for that professional space.
Well, it's not even about being ready for the NBA.
They're not ready for organized basketball.
There you go, Blue. You can take them off the court from outside, put them out there with a referee and a whistle and everything, and they go out there and they chuck somebody, boom, and then the ref call foul. And they're like, "What? I barely touched him." It's like this is the rules you're playing under now. You see the difference?
Yeah.
So there are guys who don't and won't get beyond a certain level. And if the coaches and trainers aren't adept at being able to apply the principles to make a foundation, to build from a foundation, the fighters will eventually plateau, and then some will fall over the edge because that's as far as they go, baby. That's it. That's it. Then there are others who are like sponges. There are graphs, what's being shared and taught. Some are even intellectual. They will be able to apply what you're saying and get better. You see what I'm saying? Because you can work hard, but that doesn't mean you're doing well. But I always say in boxing, it's not the guy with the hardest punch. It's not the guy who has the most athleticism or whatever. Typically in boxing, it's the smartest guy. The smartest guy. The smartest guy knows when to make a move, when to get out of danger. Word to Tim Tszyu, huh? When to get out of danger, when to set a trap, when to recognize a trap. You see what I'm saying? There's so many elements of principality. Listen, it's a reason that it was called the sweet science.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
But you got guys out here that's trying to run you a GED program of boxing. Hey, and it ain't working.
That's what they said. The teachers ain't here. The teachers ain't in the same capacity. And I think people miss what you're talking about is the true fight that we want to see between a Shakur Stevenson and Tank Davis, right? Everybody's talking about Shakur can't punch. We're not here to see him necessarily punch. And we don't think that fight between, some people don't feel like the fight between Shakur and Tank is going to be about punching as much it is about what you're talking about, that intelligence. It's going to be great to watch too. It's going to be a cerebral fight that night, and we're going to watch two fighters jump into their cerebral bag and find out who the smartest fighter in the ring is that night.
And I'm going to give you a precursor. Almost a year ago, this might have been after Tank stopped Ryan Garcia. It might have been before it might have even been when he stopped Frank Martin. Shakur Stevenson, was interviewed And somebody asked him, it was like, yo, man, if you fight Tank, man, what about that power? What, you know, aren't you afraid of that or whatever? And Shakur said something, and I really respected his response.
I know exactly what you're going to
say. Shakur said, he ain't gonna hit me with none of that.
Mm-hmm. And then he said, what he say, Stormy? If the only thing you bring into the table is you knocking me out, you already lost.
There you go. Absolutely. That's a man who has a mind to think beyond what you're seeing. Huh?
Right.
Because nobody saw Mike Tyson getting knocked out, did he? But he was butt up with those little black shoes up in the air on the canvas, huh? Mouthpiece in backwards. People never saw that happening, huh?
Right.
People didn't see Roy Jones getting flatlined like he did against Antonio Tarver, right? They didn't see that coming. Right. I had and I've told this story, and I'll be brief with it. I told this story before.
Don't be brief. Don't be brief, Stormy. Don't shortchange us.
with a colleague of mine who loved boxing. His two favorite fighters back in the 90s were Shane Mosley and Roy Jones. Whenever you talk to him about boxing, he was saying, Roy. And then you talk to him about Shane, Sugar Shane. But I said to him, I said, listen, both of those guys, because they were similar in certain aspects. Mm-hmm. I said, both of those guys, when they lose, they're going to lose spectacularly. He was like, what are you talking about? I said, because first of all, they're dealing from a position of where they have certain gifts over their opponents. Mm-hmm. But it's going to take someone who is more well-studied. Roy was more unorthodox than anything. And how do you beat the unorthodox? By being acutely orthodox. You have to be well-schooled and tooled in what you're doing so that guy who seems to be doing it all from here and there, all you got to wait is for your moment. And then, bing. And what happened with Tarver and Roy? You see, in that fight where he stopped Roy, the round before, just go back and listen to what Buddy McGirt tells Antonio. He tells him, he's like, he's trying to catch you coming in. He was like, get a little lower and get closer. That's exactly what happened. Mm-hmm. He stepped on the inside where Roy don't fight on the inside, but he'll try to catch you with that quick check hook coming in. Mm-hmm. And Antonio dipped and stepped with his shot at the same time. Roy never saw the shot come.
I remember it. Yep.
Caught him clean, and that was the end of that.
Destroyed my night.
Devastating night in boxing. Changed my whole perspective on boxing that night. I'm telling you the straight truth. I was a fanboy for Roy. The way these fans are for Tank right now, that's how I was on Roy. That night was an epic night in my journey in boxing. It changed my whole entire perspective on boxing.
And as far as Sugar Shane, when he stepped in against Vernon Forrest, same thing, similar circumstances, but Shane and his dad had this thing that they did was power boxing.
Power boxing.
Power boxing, under what they were doing and accustomed to doing to their opponents, was overpowering them with strength and power and speed. Mm-hmm. However, it goes back to what I said about that acutely orthodox guy. And that's what Vernon was. Vernon was a boxer, man. He could box. Mm-hmm. So Shane was fast with those hooks and powerful, but the shortest distance between 2 points is a straight line. Mm-hmm. And if you're the shorter guy with the shorter reach and you got to get to me, all I got to do is plan and wait for you to try to track across that real estate. I draw a line in the sand, and I know that when you're at a certain distance, I can touch you. If you come within there, I can hurt you. If you even come even closer, I can take you out. All I got to do is know the shots to throw. And because I'm a cute boxer, I'm well studied in that. That's why Lennox Lewis referred to himself, after working with Emmanuel for a few years, he says, I'm a 5-dimensional fighter.
Yes, he did.
A 5-dimensional fighter.
How
many dimensions are there? I did a show on that where I broke it down. How many senses do you have?
Right. Well,
How
you got
many
me between
fingers and
hearing,
toes do you
seeing,
have?
smell, and let
How
me see.
many extremities do you
Four.
have? The
I mean,
head is
I know.
included.
I'm gonna
Arm,
say
leg, arm, head.
right.
Think
Exactly.
about it.
Shout out
So
to the
the
shout out to
universe,
the gods and the earth.
the universe is built on this. Okay. And you reach the sixth dimension when you are enlightened to recognize what you're dealing with.
Right there.
Does this make sense to you?
The pineal gland.
Does this make sense to you?
Absolutely.
Yes. Yes.
This is what I'm talking about. But you
Yes,
see,
sir.
there's a reason that it's referred to as a sweet science.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
This is a build right here. This is a real build right here.
And see, and I'm not telling you anything that is not.
Before you go on, Stormy, I need y'all to Stormy, put your link to your channel in the chat. I need y'all
I'll
to
find it.
subscribe and follow Stormy B Man. As I told you guys, there's some guys that I will always concede to. One we lost. We had the three wise men. They don't remember that, Stormy.
Yeah,
Stormy,
and I've
Kirk.
moved the three wise men content over to my Patreon. So
did you?
Yeah, it's on my Patreon. If you
Okay.
sign up for my Patreon, the link is always in my descriptions of my videos and my live stream, and it's on my community.
You're going to be my first Patreon subscription right now as we're speaking. I have no Patreon. I don't even think I got a. No, I know I do not have a Patreon account. So I'm about to create one while we're on here and subscribe. I'm enjoying this build. I'm enjoying the living day.
I'm always working like this. I'm always working like this.
So y'all hear me, y'all hear me always tell you guys that Stormy is.
And I put his link in there, by the way. You see it under my name. His link to his channel is right there in the chat, by the way.
So cool. Stormy, let me pin that up.
Oh, you see it, right?
Yeah, I see it.
Let me pin it up. You see, I tell you guys, I say this all the time, Stormy. Stormy's one of the last historians that we have on here that can go this deep in the sport of boxing. And I tell you guys this all the time, I will always concede. I know when I'll say this all the time, Stormy, be quick to listen and slow to speak. When Stormy is talking, right? It's just like when Kurt was talking, right? I'm quick to listen and slow to speak because these jewels have to be appreciated. They have to be respected and understood. Stormy B, man, what he's giving y'all people, I need everybody here. If you're not subscribed to Stormy B Man's channel, please go click the link and subscribe to Stormy B Man. I'm gonna pin the link up in the chat right now. This is boxing knowledge that you're not going to get, people. We can't take this type of knowledge for granted. We have to appreciate it. We have to respect it, and we have to enjoy it while he's here to give it to us, right? So many people after the fact tell me, man, I miss Kurt. How much Kurt did you appreciate?
Man, let me tell you, and Kurt was I am so honored to have been able to call him a friend. The only thing I didn't get the chance to do was to meet him in person. But Kurt and I would have conversations, man. We could start off talking about some boxing, but we'd be talking about life, the universe, and everything. Kurt was a hell of a person, man.
Kurt take you down memory lane. He start reminding you about stuff man, listen.
Exactly.
So Stormy,
and I'm honored to have called him a friend, and I represent in that same vein. I have not deterred or deferred or anything or deviated off of that,
and that's
and
why
even when Blue refers to me as a historian, I always say I don't consider myself a historian. Kurt was a true historian, and so is Scrapbook. But my knowledge of the sport of boxing is just, I call myself a prodigy because it's like it's God-given. It's a gift.
What's the name? Is the channel on Patreon just Stormy B Man? Is that what it is on there?
Yeah, it's Stormy B Man. If you go to my main YouTube page and go to the community, there's a link.
Okay, I'm gonna do it because I gotta set up an account and it's asking me to do a bunch of stuff that I'm not gonna do right now. Describe your page, make a public post, publish a page. It's trying to get me to set up a Patreon account, which I'm gonna do.
Yeah,
but I'm definitely subscribing. You're gonna be the one guy I'm subscribing. Are you on there, Blue? Are you on? Are you do Patreon? You don't do Patreon, right?
Yeah, I do have a Patreon. You know what? I'm not active on it.
Okay. But yeah, no, this build is I love this type of build. This is the type of boxing experience as far as conversation, as far as analysis. This is what I want to be part of, what I love to be part of. This is what I think the boxing space needs more of. I'm tired of this old fake debate, because it's a fake debate, because it's all opinions, and these debates just get weaker and weaker and weaker the more of them that I hear. The education and the love for the sport.
Let me say it like this too, about that whole thing about debating. You can have your preferences. You know, everybody does. They have preferences. But when you're talking about the X's and O's of this sport, man, there's no debate, because we're talking about sciences. And what do they say about applied sciences? You can come up with theorems, you can come up with theories, but there is one unmitigated truth, the foundation of it all. And that's what everything stands on. So if somebody isn't versed in that aspect of it,
right,
to try and debate it is a way of trying to prove your presence, to prove that you bring in a merit of value or something of that nature. There are people who know far more than me about the sport as far as dates and when events took place and this and that. But I will say, when it comes down to, like, when what we're talking now, this X's and O's and talking about the psychological aspect of it or whatever.
Yes, sir.
Dude, that's PhD material right there, simply because I understand the sport from the inside out, not from the surface looking in.
Yeah, that's important. I think that is important. And I think there's intangibles to every fight that's being made, and not and no 2 or 3 fights are the same. You know, that's why the triangle theory gets shot at so much in boxing, because these boxers come in with things that you see, and then there's the things you don't see. And very rarely are we speaking about the things we don't see, like you're doing today. Very rarely are we speaking on that. We want to say fighter A beat fighter B, so naturally he's going to do something similar to fighter C, and not acknowledge the fact that fighter C brings a whole intangible to the space that fighter B just doesn't do. And even though fighter B does XYZ better than fighter C, this one intangible that fighter C brings to the table is going to give issues to fighter A and has a real good chance of upsetting your fighter that night. I think you see things like that when you look at even with this fight this weekend with Tim Tszyu. You know what I'm saying? You saw an intangible that Tim Tszyu didn't have an answer for. On paper, he was a 5-1, you know what I'm saying? 5-1 guy was going, you know what I mean? But in reality, hindsight says, if you really paid attention to Bakram, this was going to be a problem for Tim Tszyu. Tim Tszyu was had too many holes.
My breakdown of that fight, I had said, after watching Bakram, I'm like, this guy is dangerous. And I said, even though Tim Tszyu is going to be his first step-up fight, because there are fights that didn't get made, and we later found out on the night of that match between he and Tszyu, we found out that he had taken step-aside money multiple times, meaning guys were avoiding fighting him for the past few years. So I had said that even though Tim Tszyu was his first real step-up fight, that if Tszyu isn't able to use his experience and things of that nature, this guy is going to be a problem. And my goodness, Tszyu fell right into his snare. And I was like, whoa. So if he can do it to Tim Tszyu, he can do it to a lot of guys.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So that means that it's going to take someone who's polished up here,
right,
to defeat that guy.
Do you think that fight? Do you think that fight between Tim Tszyu and Bakram, and I'm not, if you notice, I'm staying away from this dude's last name. I don't think I've ever said it right, not one time. I don't think it's happened yet, and I've tried multiple times to the point where
it's Bakram Murtazaliev, right?
Murtazaliev.
I feel like there's a Z in there that you're ignoring.
Murtazaliev, that's his name. It's easier to say Bakram.
Yeah, we know there's one Bakram. Until there's another Bakram in the game, I don't find it necessary to get his last name right.
You know how to say Karen name?
Karen? No, I've really had trouble with that one too. So I just say Karen.
Karen.
Yeah,
Until there's another
KC.
Karen, we ain't worried about his last name. Until there's another Karen, he's Karen. We know his mama called him Karen. I'm gonna call him Karen.
It's KC.
But did this fight put perspective on what we actually saw in the ring with Terence Crawford and Israel Madrimov? Was there any perspective gained on what we saw? Because people thought that Terence was just looking awful that night, right? That he wasn't doing what they thought he should do. Did that Eastern European style show up in that Tim Tszyu fight in a way where it's like, now do you see why Terence took his time, patiently broke that guy down, and didn't fight him like he fought a Sean Porter or Errol Spence or, you know what I mean, a Amir Khan or whatever have you?
This is the thing to answer that. Terence Crawford has always shown you who he is. And what's the old saying about once somebody show you who they are the first time? What is it?
Believe him.
Believe him. Terence has always showed you who he is. He said going into this fight that Madrimov was a tough cookie. He said that. And he told people, even when he had went over to Europe, the guy was worshipped over there for his accomplishments in the amateurs and everything. So he was acutely aware of this man.
Right.
But just because you don't know someone doesn't mean that they're not anybody. You understand? Which is why, didn't you hear me say earlier? I said I'm like combing the UK shows and catching those interviews so I can learn more of the fighters over there, because they're not bringing that information here. The internet is good if you know how to use it. Right. So I'm studying up on these guys just like I studied up on Bakram. And what I come to realize about these guys, it's not even so much that it's the Eastern European style. It's the essence of what always made the best of fighters. Guys who come from dire straits, who are hungry and want to change their lives. That's a story that any man can relate to. It don't matter where you come from.
This is true.
Now you put it into a sense of where a man is applying that to where he's got to use these to work to earn his living. Now he's really going to get into it.
Yes, sir.
And it requires being in condition. It requires being mentally conditioned. You know, a few months ago, Drew Titan had on his show, he had Vasily Girov on there. And the guy was so funny because he was telling us about some of the training drills that his coach used to put him through, sicking dogs on him and stuff. It was like, it was like once you had the dog sick on you, man, facing another man is nothing. Do you understand?
Perspective.
True.
What was it? What was it? That movie, the volleyball movie? It was a comedy, but it was a volleyball movie. They were playing dodgeball, the movie. And when they were training, all of a sudden he broke out the wrenches and he broke out and he just started hitting them with wrenches and stuff. You're like, what are you doing? He's like, man, you can get out the way of a wrench. You're gonna get out the way of a ball.
Get out the way of that ball, right? That ball is nothing, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. So, you know, as I was saying about Bakram, he can do that to anybody. Madrimov can make other people look bad as well and everything, but see, Terence is that guy. He's a guy of an elevated consciousness in that ring. He's a guy that applies that fifth dimension. Some people may not want to hear that because it hurt their feelings, but I'm sorry, you give it to who's earned that, not to someone with potential. I'm here in Chicago. We had a quarterback for a number of years, Jay Cutler. And they always talked about his potential, where we had 10 to 12 years of potential of that guy throwing interceptions all the time and, you know, just making the team look bad, putting them in bad situations and everything. And they, after every game, well, you know, he's still a former all-star. No, he wasn't an all-star. He was an all-star alternate, someone that didn't make it, got hurt or something, and then they pulled him in there. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he was blowing up the stats and he made the all-star team.
Yeah,
I can tell you the truth about that, right? And you know that I'm telling you the truth about these other things. It's like you have to call it like it truly is. Men who do it, who get the job done,
Right.
It is easier to acknowledge him because the work is speaking for itself. I looked at Lennox Lewis and I saw his flaws and everything, but once he got with Emmanuel helped him cover up because some of the flaws were still there, but he helped him cover up or mask so he wasn't so vulnerable to what his weaknesses were.
Mm-hmm.
And that took him to a new level. And as long as he operated within that, he was a tough cookie to beat.
Yep.
And now he's in the Hall of Fame. You know what I'm saying? He was not going to make it there like that had he not got with Emmanuel and took on Emmanuel's teachings and counsel.
Mm-hmm.
But see, that's the difference. If you have someone that can take you from here to there, your story is writing itself,
Mm-hmm.
not based on potential.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And just because you knock people out, that doesn't mean anything. Because you keep at it and you fight the right people, one day you get knocked out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because you don't know how to do nothing but knock people out.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Matchmaking
and
and fighter development.
And then what happens when you hit people and they don't go to sleep?
There you go.
You better be able to box. He's gonna be a long night.
You got to be able to do something besides just hit people to get them out of there.
Mm-hmm. That's what happened with Mike.
Pernell Whitaker once talked about. He was like, "Why knock a guy out when you can beat him every round and ruin him psychologically?" Because it's like you knock him out, he could say, "Oh, I forgot to duck," or "He caught me a good shot," and this and that. But when he can't win a round from you in a 12 or scheduled 15 round fight, he couldn't win one round. That's devastating to the guy.
Mm-hmm.
Did you remember the fight between Azuma Nelson and Pernell Whitaker?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Buffalo Martin, who was Azuma's coach and trainer on that night, Sugar Ray Leonard was still commentating for HBO. I think he had come back as a guest commentator on this particular. Sweet Pea is dominating Azuma Nelson. And you know, the professor was the professor, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Listen, Buffalo Martin is yelling at Azuma in the corner in between rounds. "Come on, man. What's the matter with you, man? What the hell's wrong with you? You got to do this. You got to do that." Azuma is sitting there nodding his head like, yeah. But every round, Sweet Pea is just slipping, pop, 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 stepping around, making him look bad. He over here. No, he over there. It's like Buffalo Martin was so frustrated and yelling at Azuma so much that Sugar Ray Leonard said, "I would knock that guy out."
Yep, that's what he said. He said, "I'll knock him out."
He made Sugar mad with the stuff he was saying to Azuma.
He sure did. He said, "I will knock him out."
His best, man. But Sweet Pea was just that good.
Yeah.
And if you can't win a round, dude, it destroys you. It just rips everything from you. So that was amazing. And I'm glad Blue saw it and remember it because it was funny when it happened, wasn't it, Blue?
Yeah, he said, I would knock that dude out. He would knock him out. Echo, what's up, Echo?
Hey, how are you doing? How's everybody?
Doing good, Echo. How you doing, man?
I'm really good. I was listening. Just came on, just hearing what you were saying. What we're talking about. I mean, before this.
I mean, we honestly were just building on multiple different things, but I think on this topic we were just talking about. I was really bringing it up just off the strength of that Eastern European style, and I think it branched off from the mind state, the side, the intangibles, you know, in boxing not being spoken about enough, and how much they play the biggest roles in the fights, especially in the most competitive fights, the biggest. You know, when the two fighters are generational talents, or you know what I mean, or bringing that pedigree, is normally these intangibles that don't get spoken about that play the biggest factors, it seems, on the outcomes of these fights, because these fighters are just sound, obviously, to the point where they're both on the same level. Like when you look at the Dmitry Bivol fight that we just saw with Artur Beterbiev, and you saw two fighters that were super accomplished in their own right, it seemed like the intangibles were going to play the part in what separated them. A super competitive fight. Some people thought Bivol won. A lot of people thought Bivol won. Some people thought Beterbiev won. The judges that night felt like Beterbiev won, but it was just like stylistically, what do you favor and what intangibles was it that made you feel the way you felt, right? Artur Beterbiev, or the pressure. Dimitri Bivol, he outboxed him, the sweet science. So these intangibles is what I think we were talking about mainly, like kind of getting deeper into them.
Yeah, I agree. And that fight could have been judged both ways. I mean, it could have been a draw. When I first picked who would win, I was on your channel. I said Bivol would win,
Mm-hmm.
and I thought he would use the pendulum footwork a lot more, because obviously, if you use the pendulum footwork the best way it should be, you should be using your calf muscles, and he does that perfectly. But he didn't use it enough, and he fought a bit too square on as well. And he didn't use the L step enough. Anyway, he kept going to the wrong side a lot of times. So I believe that I mean, a lot of people are saying nowadays, well, they're thinking, is Bivol or Beterbiev, an all-time great? But they've got to realize, the actual super middleweight has not been around that long. You know what I mean? It only started, like 1984. So, I mean, it's not a long time for the history for us to even go back and look back how great they really are. It's not got a very long history, But
hold that thought, right, Echo? You know how old we are that we say. And it don't go back that long, 1984.
yeah,
people in the chat, and they're like,
I'm 65. But I'm 65. I'm not a young guy. You know what I mean?
Right,
I was watching boxing in like 1963. I've been studying boxing this long.
Right.
Right.
Do you think Bivol? Do you think Bivol, and because me and Blue talked about it before the fight started, I tapped in to say that, man, I just got this feeling that Dimitri's not going to box as much as you think he's going to box tonight. I think you're going to see Dimitri fight tonight, which is going to be either a great thing because maybe that's what he needs to do to beat Beterbiev, or it's going to be a horrible thing because he's going to make it easier on Beterbiev, right? Like he's going to make it to where you would think that Dimitri had been more concerned about testing the athleticism of Artur Beterbiev, right? The fact that he came off of a knee surgery, and you think he'd want to test the sturdiness of that knee and move him around as much as he could and box him and make Artur Beterbiev work extra hard to get to him. But as you stated, he kind of stood square and kind of like wasn't focused on the foot movement as much as trying to like almost out Beterbiev. Did you see that? And did you feel like
the reason why he stood square probably because he wanted to land the right hand? He's got a shorter distance to travel.
Right.
If you look at the old time guys, they were more side on with a weight on the back foot, so that right hand could travel further. And also your back foot that's the true distance, the back foot, not the front foot. You can have your front foot nearly on their front foot, but if your back foot is too far away, you won't land a punch. So it's like levels. I mean, if you throw a jab to the body and your shoulders level with the target, and then you lift your arm up to the head, you'll miss the target to the head. Same thing if you jab to the head, level with the head or the shoulder, then you put your arm level to put your hand level to the stomach, you won't be able to land either. So there's level changes as well. That's why boxing is more subtle than a lot of people think.
Do you think that? So that's what I was saying, right? He was aware of and wanted to make him landing that right hand more of a priority. Like he wanted to hurt Beterbiev. He wanted to be in this fight and kind of show the world that no, I'm actually quite capable of being a powerful puncher and I can hurt a Beterbiev. You saw me do it with Malik Zanad. I gave you a glimpse of what I am, but it seemed like he continued the Malik Zanad campaign into the Artur Beterbiev fight. Like he was all of a sudden going to start stopping fighters and being a fighter who's not just going to sit here and maybe, the negative word is run around the ring and run away from Beterbiev. It looked like he wanted to kind of fight that false narrative that he felt like was about him, but he fell short that night doing that. You see what I'm saying? Like, it seemed like he was trying to prove the wrong thing that night. Instead of winning that fight just to be winning it, he wanted to win it in a certain way.
I think that he felt like he had to make a statement to win.
Mm.
More
But the
so,
thing is, he could have used the jab a lot, longer jab, more like a fencer jab, rather than doing it 3/4. Because sometimes you can say you feint with the front hand. You can do a long feint and a short punch with the same hand, but you can't do a long punch and a long punch with the same hand, a feint. So a long feint, it'd have to be a short feint and a long punch, or a long feint and a short punch. So it'd be short, long, or long, short.
Right.
It won't be the other way around. And I think what he did when he fought, who was the guy he fought? He fought somebody.
was Zurdo.
No, it was. I'm trying to remember who it was now, but it was somebody for a long time ago. Bivol did, and he beat him pretty bad. Trying to remember now. But
He was it Joe Smith fight?
no, it wasn't Joe Smith. It was somebody before that. Oh, God, I know who he is. I just got his name. I remember all the other. Oh, what was his name? That doesn't matter anyway. But he basically, that's the kind of fight it would have been better to fight, to be more, committed and take some chances as well.
Was it Sullivan Barrera?
No.
No.
I'm trying to remember who it was.
It was before Canelo, right? I'm assuming.
Yes, before Canelo. Yeah.
Yeah, I know he beat up on.
Did he stop him or just a unanimous decision?
Unanimous, but he beat him up every round nearly.
Oh, I know. You talking about the
Craig
Chilemba fight?
Who?
The Isaac Chilemba fight?
No, not that one. No.
Craig Richards.
No.
Because he beat up
You know
on.
what? I can remember all these other fighters, history of fighters. I could tell you the dates when they won the fights, but this guy's mount.
Was it Jean Pascal? Jean Pascal?
Yes, that's it, John Pascal. Yeah. That's if he'd have been more like that, it would have been. It would have, because the thing is, sometimes you just got to take chances sometimes to win fights, and I think he didn't do enough in the championship rounds as well. So.
Well, I'll put it to you like this: what I think that why you didn't see him press more was because of the danger.
Yeah,
the danger, and I've already given my post-fight thoughts on that. Why the fight played out the way it did is actually something that's quite refreshing. Claymore, you may want to go and check out.
I definitely will.
My post-fight show for
on
that
YouTube
fight.
or Patreon.
Yeah, it's on my channel. I did immediate post-fight show, as I do with all the cards, really, the big cards on Saturdays and whatnot, sometimes Fridays. But there was a point where I believe that Bivol fought. He fought to the maximum of what he could do with this opponent. If there were other opponents that are less threatening, where that, someone that can not take him out as easy as Arthur could possibly take him out, you could see him try, some other things. However, I do not think, and I'm still of this belief after the fight is over, I do not believe that Arthur was trying to knock him out. I don't. I've seen Arthur go for it. I've seen him where he flipped a switch. He never did that against Dimitri. And when in my post-fight show, I gave my assessment as to why I recognized that. And I realized when it got about to the 8th or 9th round that it came to me. And I was like, oh, I see what I'm looking at now. And I talked about it in my post-fight. I'm not going to say it again. You just have to watch it on there, because it's something that, again, you heard me explaining certain things psychologically about boxing earlier in this conversation. So that assessment, that it brought me to a new thing to consider going forward about fighters, especially if they're from the same country. especially if they are representing something that is bigger than the sport of boxing. See, that's what lies at the end of my assessment of things. And I think that the influence came before the match took place. But Arthur was not trying to knock him out. He was not.
Yeah, I agree with you, Stormy. It seemed like Bivol was more concerned about the stop, and Artur Beterbiev seemed to be more concerned about the cerebral aspect of the game. It seemed like he wanted to box more. He wanted to outscore him. He wanted to cut the ring off and smother what Bivol's game plan was, and he didn't want to get hit with anything he didn't need to get hit with. It just seemed like a reverse. And it's funny because before the fight, like Echo comes on the show sometimes, and subscribe to the channel, Stormy. You know what I'm saying? Come to some of the to my live sometimes. But I was saying that this fight was.
By the way, just let me say, I just subscribed to you a few minutes ago while we were.
Oh, you did? I appreciate you. Thank you, brother.
I did subscribe to you.
You'll see Echo a couple of times on there. Echo will come up there to build with me. But I was saying that Beterbiev, we're going to see the boxing side of Beterbiev that everybody thought he was going to fall short on fighting against Bivol. And then we're going to see, I believed, a fighting style of Bivol that people didn't think he was capable of as well. And it was going to be about who was able to master the intangible that people thought they were going to be weak in, that was going to get him the loss. So how well Beterbiev was able to box was going to make the difference on how he won that fight, and how well Bivol was able to fight, to sit in there and deal with certain exchanges and win certain exchanges were going to make the difference on how he won the fight. So it just seemed like Beterbiev was able to kind of step up in that area, and Bivol kind of, like, in my opinion, blew his gas halfway through the fight, trying to fight a Beterbiev style of fighting. He found out that because between the way he was trying to fight and the pressure Beterbiev kept on Bivol had to keep on throwing his hands the way he was. And it seemed like he kind of blew his load by like round 8 or 9. It seemed like he just didn't have that much left in the gas tank. And Beterbiev was able to capitalize in those championship rounds and ultimately convince the judges to give him the win that night.
Now, I'm going to tell you something. Mentally, Bivol was dialed in. He was. He never got caught with anything stupid. He kept his hands up, and the face being damaged was from Beterbiev punching his own gloves into his own face. That was the irony. However, he was mentally fatigued. He could not do any more than what he had done. It was a lot to go 12 rounds with a man who's never been 12 rounds, and for a damn good reason of not going 12. So that was a victory within itself, because Arthur is a killer, bro. He is. And there's not a lot of killers in boxing today. There's not. Maybe a handful, maybe a little less than a handful, but he's definitely at atop the list. This is why I say, if you're watching this, you realize that he was never at any point trying to stop Bivol. He had one moment, I think, in round 7. Round 7
when Bivol hit him, kind of looked like he heard him, and then he turned up on Bivol.
He turned up for a moment. It was like to say, it's almost like if you've ever seen animals, when the alpha animal puts the other one in check, it was that kind of thing. And Bivol said, "Okay, boss."
Yeah, like, slow your damn horses. Who you think you swinging on like that?
There you go. and I'll tell you something. Remember the Marcus Brown fight for Arthur?
Yes.
They told him, "Hey man, this cut is really, really bad. We'll give you one more round. I don't know. We're gonna have to say this is bad." Marcus Brown ain't never been the same.
No.
After that, never. He fought once since that fight. And that
promising was too. I thought Marcus Brown was going to be a factor in that division. I'm not going to lie to you.
And like I said, going into the fight, I thought that Arthur was going to do the same business of order to Bivol until I came across my enlightened moment. And I was like, oh, okay, I see what I'm looking at now. Because you know these two men could have fought like 4 years ago,
Right.
and they
Right.
didn't.
Yeah, they could have fought earlier than this.
And it didn't take place for a reason. But like I said, if you watch my post fight, because see, I don't want to try to turn it into something, the discussion of it into something political, but I explained it on my show.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
if you listen to what I had to say, it's going to give you a different way of looking at things. Because remember, I told you it's this. You have to see the sport beyond. You know how you hear people involved in the sport of boxing, they say, well, boxing is a business. It is. More so than sport is a business. But sometimes the business on the world scale,
Mm-hmm.
it has to be presented a certain kind of way.
Right.
And representation is everything, especially when you're talking about somebody who is from an area like these two men are from.
From Russia.
That's about the cleanest and most sincere way that I can put it right now. But you have to be able to, dig deep what's being conveyed here. And I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I just believe that there's not enough people who understand and believe that. If you did, or if you do, great for you, because the world is not always as you're being told, or certain types of representation and everything. It's like, wow. I remember
the world is
I had a
experienced.
colleague that had he had gone to a professional fight,
Mm-hmm.
and seated not far from him was Tommy Hearns, and they were watching the fight, and the fight was over. My colleague, he had put some money on the fight. He lost big time that night, and he was mad. And he was like, "Man, I can't believe this," or whatever. And he walked over because Tommy was signing autographs and taking pictures with people. And he talked to Tommy, and he said, "Man, I lost big tonight, Hitman." And Tommy put his hand on his shoulder and say, "Listen, brother," he said, "watch boxing, love boxing with all your heart, but keep your money in your pocket." That's coming from a former, Tommy was a 5-6-time world champion,
Six times.
and who had been in there with some of the best fighters in history or whatever. He gave him probably the most sound advice that someone could give him about the sport. But do people listen? Absolutely not. That's why you get people losing their shirt all the time.
Yeah, I wish the Bivol fight would have been earlier. I think it would have been better fight.
If
Just
it
like
had
Ray
took place
Leonard,
earlier, you probably would
and Hearns. That
do
was
exactly
the
what
early
you thought you
fight.
might do. If
Can,
it had
can we?
just
Can,
taken, I'm sorry, go ahead.
well, no, I was
gonna
gonna. You guys are in the middle of it, but I was gonna segue because I had a question as well about a potential fight and whether or not this fight is a legitimate fight that we should be seeing, or I mean, I think Terence Crawford is an interesting topic right now in the boxing space, because he's obviously chasing greatness and chasing his biggest payday against Canelo Alvarez. But as the days go by, the weeks go by, the months go by, it seems less and less likely that this fight is going to happen. And the question has to come up: then what's the next likely fight that makes sense for Terence Crawford? Do you guys see Terence Crawford as a fighter that is looking to become an undisputed unified champion again, or is he really just one fight, 2 fights max away from a retirement? And taking that into consideration, what's the next fight that makes the most sense for Terence Crawford right now? I mean, what's getting pushed in the space is Bakram, right? They want to see him in there with Bakram, and we know most of the people who are saying it because they want to see Terence lose. They think Bakram can beat him, but there's other people who just want to see what the two guys stylistically look like in front of each other in the ring. But all those things I said, brought together, how do you guys feel about the Terence Crawford topic right now in relevance to a Canelo Alvarez fight? Or, like I said, what's the next fight for him that makes more sense if Canelo truly is off the table?
Well, personally, I think they don't want Terence around, man. They've played so many games with this young man's career. They tried to age him out of the sport. But what they don't realize is this: when you're good, when you're talented, when you're a 5-dimensional fighter, your age doesn't factor in until way at the end.
Bernard.
And when you don't do the bad things that most other fighters do, burning the candles at both ends, mistreating and abusing your body, using different types of substances and all of that, running through women and women running through your life and all of that other stuff, and being distracted and disenchanted with material possessions and all of that stuff. But you're a guy who can show up as a professional on the night in question and give a performance and be dominant and be on top of your game and all of that. The only thing is left for people who don't understand why you are that guy is to look for ways for you to lose instead of respecting what you've accomplished. You see, and it's happened to the best of them in the sport. But when it comes down to him in this particular era, there are contemporaries of his who should be ashamed of themselves for not wanting to share the ring with that man because he's great amongst a field of pretenders, amongst a field of guys who will never measure up, but they'll find ways to try to pair their name alongside of his and try to distract and detract and try to make it seem like what he's done is just not enough. But Freddie Roach told you many years ago what you should have been listening to when it was first proposed that he fight Manny Pacquiao. And he said, I don't like that fight for Manny. And said, well, why? Freddie is Manny and Terence. And Terence was at what, 140 then, I think. He says because Terence can do everything that Floyd does.
But he got power.
And he can turn southpaw. And he has power. That's the highest compliment that I've ever heard anyone in the present day sport of boxing give Terence Crawford. And he wasn't lying. If you want to know why the fight between Terence and Canelo don't happen, that's why the fight between Terence and Canelo doesn't happen. Because who was the last one to shut Canelo out of a fight?
Floyd.
And Floyd ain't never fought like Terence at this level, at this stage, taking on these guys. In fact, Canelo was like one of the last that he fought. And he was what, 36, 37 when he fought Canelo.
36.
So you got Bud right there at the same age, but can knock you out, get you up out of there. And Bud got a temperament that Floyd never had. That means he'll go for it. He will. He ain't gonna try to look pretty. He ain't gonna try to make you, look like he the best. He's gonna try to knock that guy's head off. But he's not gonna be reckless with it. He will be precise, and he will be the assassin that he has always been, going all the way back down to lightweight. It's the same. It's not the size of the fighter in the fight. It's the size of the fight in the fighter. It has always been that.
Yeah.
Salute to my brother Charles Edward Cheese in the building, in the super chat, dropping that hundo on us in the super chat. He said, "Battle of the Voices, Stormy versus Blue. What up, host? Chat, Tiny pushback, Stormy. That speed and reaction was different for Floyd. All else stands." And Floyd
Salute, Cheese.
Salute, Cheese. Floyd was very aggressive when he was Pretty Boy Floyd early in his career.
Yeah, and that was at the much lighter weights too.
Yeah, when them hand injuries started to kick in.
Yeah, 130, 135, yeah.
That was it.
I mean, I really believe that Crawford could beat Canelo. He's got possibility to do that, but whether or not he'll get the chance to do that, I don't know. I mean, I just see for somebody to go up in that many weights and want to try at least. That shows a lot of guts, you know what I mean? That reminds me of somebody like Sam Langford doing all what he did, fighting, Jeanette 14 times and Sam McVeigh 7 times, that kind of thing. That's the kind of guy he is.
Yeah.
I think he's like a modern day Sam Langford. He would be if he had the chance.
That should tell you something. It should be easy for Canelo to accept the fight. You know why? Because this is the guy's coming up. Oh, you want to come up here with me? Okay, come on up. But what if the guy kicks Canelo's butt?
Well, that wouldn't look good, would it? That wouldn't look good. But that would actually put him above Floyd because he did that, when Canelo's a better fighter now, and that would hurt Floyd's legacy. And I really believe that Crawford is like I said, he's like Sam Langford. He would go up. I mean, when Sam Langford fought Jack Johnson in 1904, he only weighed 156 pounds. Most people don't even realize that, And he fought Joe Jeanette as well 14 times. And he fought Sam McVeigh 7 times.
There were guys that were so
they were heavyweights
of Sam Langford that they just, if you mention his name alongside theirs, they would just kind of kowtow and be like, you know what? Listen, I'm not interested. Huh?
Cheese on that. I'm about to be right there with you, Cheese. It's about to happen for me too next week. We about to start it, so you ain't gonna be alone.
Yeah, I think they're just trying to stop his greatness. I think they're trying to stop his greatness, personally.
Of course.
So, but you guys haven't.
You're talking about for the past 6-7 years now, because he was at weight for 5 years. Okay.
Yeah.
They wouldn't fight the guy. That's why I said that his contemporaries ought to be ashamed of themselves.
I agree.
They wouldn't allow themselves to share the ring with him. Because you know what? Win, lose, or draw, to have been able, when you look back in the history books and you see Terence Bud Crawford's name, you see names like Floyd Mayweather and stuff like that, and you look and you say, man, well, at least I fought him. He was the best of our era, or this or that. But see, these guys are so effeminate in these present times of boxing that they don't look at legacy, They look at the loot. And it's funny because most of them, when they get on in their retirements, they would trade some of that loot for some of the legacy.
Yeah.
You know why? Because they burn the loot up anyway. How many former fighters are living well?
Not many.
Think about it.
There's only a handful.
It's a low percentage for sure.
So asking you guys, like, the second part of the question was if not Canelo, what, from your point of view, makes the most sense for Terence Crawford? Or even an option on there, obviously, is also retirement, of course. He can walk off into the sunset and be who he is and be an accomplished fighter in his own right. But outside of a Canelo Alvarez fight, if this is truly not on the table, which I feel like 75% of the boxing space feels like it's not, but I happen to be a Terence Bud Crawford fan, and I'm going to keep hope alive and hope to see that fight come together. But at the end of the day, if that fight is truly off the table, what makes the most sense for Terence Bud Crawford at this point? What's worth his while? What will satiate his appetite to be in a competitive fight that means something to him, that will get him paid, and as well as check that box of legacy that Terence Crawford has always shown has been a priority on his list of things to do when it comes to boxing?
I think that's a hard question to answer, simply because Terence hasn't let anyone in on what his motivations are. We know that he stated that he wants to fight Canelo, and he's strongly with that. And I can understand why he would want to fight Canelo. But why does he forge ahead if it's not going to be Canelo that's a hard question to answer because they've played these games with him in the past 2 weight divisions already. Think about it. He's 37. He's getting old. They still trying to stall him out. As soon as the fight was going to be talked about, but with him and Fundora, all of a sudden Errol Spence gets okay and is ready to come back and fight again. And he's jumping out in front saying, I'm going to fight Fundora. And I'm like, wait a minute. You should have fought Bud. Huh?
Right.
In a contracted rematch.
That you activated.
You let the date expire. And now all of a sudden, here you come and you think you want to fight Fundora? So it's like Bud goes on and fights Madrimov, where he secured winning a title at that division, which means that he's a player in that division.
And the interim WBO title, and more importantly, the mandatory to the WBO title that's sitting there with Sebastian Fundora. So he's placed himself in a part of the conversation to where he can't be denied. Hence, when he says all roads lead back to me.
And you're also talking about lineal. You see, that means something to him. I do believe. So otherwise, you just go fight for this belt. You go fight for this belt or whatever. But see, they're still playing this crappy game with him about the stalling. Because
the wrong side of the street.
If you don't think that Bud would have liked to fight one more time before the end of this year, you're crazy.
Right.
Because he wants to fight. He's a fighter.
Yeah, they're trying to freeze him out, really.
And then they, you know what? They do these things, and then they stretch his fights out, and then they say, well, you know he's aging. Well, why guys won't fight sooner? Why they won't sign up and fight him in 2 months, 3 months? That's a camp, ain't it? So you see the game that they're playing with the guy. So he may come to a point where he just says, you know what, chuck it, because it's like they're doing the same thing that they did at 147. That's what they're doing. But the difference is the illusion of who's the true threat at 154 is right there. And now you have Bakram in the mix. Who's got the other title? The WBC.
The WBC title is Sebastian has a WBC title over there.
Okay, Sebastian got the WBC
and the WBO title for all argument's sake.
Okay, so quite naturally, you know, and Terence repped the WBO in all of his previous weight divisions strongly. So he has preferential consideration because of what's been consistent. But look at how the other guys are not playing ball. You see what I'm saying? But he's being blamed for it. That's foolishness.
Right.
Absolute foolishness. Errol Spence is coming from an ambulance into a fight with
for a unified championship to become a unified champion. Potentially.
He the last time he fought, I think that King Tut was walking on the earth. Huh? Then he wants to come back. In fact, you can make Earl the new King Tut and put him in some bandages, huh? Because this is listen, and I'm being sarcastic when I say this.
Obviously, clearly, yeah.
But I'm simply saying that come on, man. There are plenty of bodies out here to fight. There really are. And there's some titles that can be sorted out. But why this waiting game? Why this putting stuff off and everything?
Which waiting game? Are we talking about Errol right now?
No, we're talking about
Crawford.
Crawford is ready to go.
Why are they waiting to fight Crawford? I feel what you're saying. Why are they waiting to put these fights together? Right.
You done already pushed him off of this year's calendar.
They're freezing him out, obviously.
That's what
they've been doing it for a long time. They've been doing this for a long time for him. With him. He's been going through this since Bob Arum, since Top Rank, since, you know what I mean, leaving Top Rank and trying to make. We almost didn't think. A lot of people felt like the Errol fight wasn't going to even happen at some point because it just seemed like, nobody wanted to support that fight getting put together. But so, I mean, at this point, dealing with all of this adversity, I'm going to bring it back full circle. Welcome to Claymore Reigns circus, right? Where I'm going to bring it back, and I want to answer from this panel. I need to know what Terence needs to do. What is the most practical What is? I mean, at this point, I'm gonna be real with you. Based on what you guys are saying, I damn near feel like he should just retire. You know what I'm saying? Because it just seems like more work than it's worth outside the ring than the work he's actually gonna get inside the ring. But what does he do?
To what I think that he should do is he should take one more fight. That's a big fight in a sense of whom he can be matched up against, whether it's for a title or whether it's one of those other strong contenders, and then walk away. You know why? Because they're not going to allow him to become undisputed in a fourth weight in a fourth
third
weight
weight class.
Third weight class, excuse me. And that's not something. Do you know what that does? It does. It puts him in a stratosphere that, and mind you, there's not a lot of guys out here with that type of ambition. You heard me say that earlier. It's not a lot of men with that type of ambition. Some of these guys are good to stand pat. Look at what Jermell Charlo gave up just to go fight Canelo.
Just to get some money with Canelo. Gave up every damn belt he got on it.
I said that he could never, not that he would care, but he could never get my trust or respect again. Because he ruined his own legacy. You know why? He had an opportunity as the undisputed champion at 154. He had all of the titles. The fight was built in for he and the winner of Spence and Crawford. There's a great story either way because he and Spence were friends. And he and Crawford had become bitter rivals.
And he's trained by Derrick James.
Absolutely, Blue. And there's a great story here built in. So, and not only is that story built in, now you have the potential for, if the fight is great, you can get 2 fights out of it. You know what I mean? And if it really knocks people over, you could get a trilogy out of it if it happens to go along those routes. But it's your own legacy. He gave all of that up just to go up and face Canelo and didn't even try to win the fight against Canelo. That's the worst part of it all. He didn't try to win. At no point in that fight did he sit down and say, you know what? I'm either going to go get him or he going to go get me.
Yeah, he just
was happy. Remember, he said when the fight was over, well, I didn't get knocked out.
And smiled about it. I was disgusted.
He fought to survive, really.
I was disgusted. I'm not going to lie to you. I was
to get the payday. That's what that was about. But I'm going to tell you
let me ask you this too. Let me ask you these 2 questions because there is a route that he can attempt to become undisputed right now because Fundora, from what I'm being told, is going to be stripped of the WBO title and he'll be elevated from what the WBO is saying. That'll make him unified. And Bakram Murtazaliev is saying that they want the fight with Terence Crawford. So he could get closer. He could get 3 belts and then attempt to put pressure on Fundora Spence winner, to make undisputed. But we know, like you said, Stormy, they're going to box him out. They'll probably Jermell Charlo will fight the winner and, all of those types of things. But, and the WBC, I mean, we take what they say with a grain of salt these days because they don't stand for nothing. But I talked to WBC representatives and they said that, well, they're going to force, if Terence Crawford was to take that route, they will force the winner. That's why they gave, because I was curious, why did they even involve themselves in a Majamal fight with Terence Crawford, right? And they said that they backed Terence Crawford. They want to give him the opportunity to be undisputed. They would push for the fight. But again, they said the same thing to Benavidez, right? And we ain't never get the Canelo Benavidez fight. So take what they say with a grain of salt. But if he was to go that route, in one fight, he could be a 3-belt unified champion, right? In his next fight. Now, I don't know how long he has to wait because he has to wait a period of time before he accepts the Bakram fight for him not to be eligible to receive the WBO. Right. These politics. You know what I'm
But
saying?
what does he want? Does he want the money from Canelo, or does he want to do 3 times again?
He wants Canelo. If Canelo's on the table, we don't even have nothing to talk about. That's what he's going to do 10 out of 10 times. But yeah, I think the sanctioning bodies, especially when we talk about the WEC and the WBO, have definitely taken they've empathized with Terence Crawford's plight in his journey, and they've tried their best to put him in position to accomplish that. You know, Mauricio Suleiman allowing him to be a champion in recess in the welterweight division, and then stating that he was going to make Terence Crawford the mandatory to the WBC title, which I was shocked to see him do that. And then on top of that, obviously the WBO already activating the mandatory as well for the WBO title, and then giving him opportunity to become an interim champion when he defeated Madrimov. So those are 2 belts that the sanctioning bodies seem to be in agreement with Terence Crawford as far as trying to help him become a champion. And I think Bakram is just cut from that cloth to where nothing would tickle his fancy more than having an opportunity to not only become an undisputed or even a unified champion, but doing it against a fighter like Terence Crawford. These Eastern Europeans respect Terence Crawford's accolades, and they understand that means a lot to them to be able to fight a fighter like Terence Crawford. Israel Madrimov was super elated at the opportunity to fight Terence Crawford. He knew
they
what it
respect him. They respect him.
Yeah.
Because, like I said, the real fighters know real fighters. They do. And that's one of the reasons why there are fighters who are not so quick to jump in the ring with Bud, especially if they have an idea toward accomplishing more for themselves. Because in today's state of boxing, you lose a fight, it puts you way back in the back of the line and stuff like that. And guys don't want to do that, you know, because there's so many sanctioning bodies, and then you have fighters jumping sanctioning bodies. It's like they could be rated 2 here, 1 there, 5 here, 7 there. You know, it's like this is what they deal with. So imagine losing a fight. That changes everything for your positioning. When it was one champion, all you had to do is get back in the mix and fight the next contending guy and whoop him. It's not like that anymore. So there are things that we're not seeing transpire. And my goodness, what's wrong with the guys who don't hold titles fighting with each other? They don't even do that.
Yeah.
They'll fight someone outside of the top 10 or top 15, but they don't fight each other.
But the thing is, you can stop being world champion. You may be able to beat the champion, but you may not be able to beat number 4 or 5 or 7.
Yeah.
You know, back in the day when Marvin Hagler we'll go back to Sugar Ray Robinson. He was the champion when he won the title from Tommy Bell in 1946. Everybody had to beat him, and he held the title for so long. You know what I mean? Till 1951, till he fought Jay LaMotta. So, I mean, what's going on now? It's all politics now. You know, all these governing bodies stopping everything. You know, everybody's getting stripped. Nobody can stay.
I was just about to say, a guy can become a new champion, and then the sanctioning body strips the belt away from him.
Hours later.
Usyk just became undisputed a few months ago, and the IBF stripped the belt from him, knowing that he and Fury had a rematch.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, well, he is going to be a unified fight, no longer a rematch for undisputed.
They just did the same thing. They're doing the same thing to Arthur, but
the
Yeah. The IBF. They did it to Terence. They did it to Terence. They did it to Usyk.
They're going to take the belt away from him.
They did it to Canelo too. Don't forget.
They did that the next day.
I was happy they did it to Canelo though. He was pissing me off.
And
but
also,
they did do it to Canelo.
Yeah, and Canelo's been sitting on belts for years. Bro.
Right. I was actually like, go IBF, do your thing, bro. Get that guy together, man.
But there's another fighter who's very dangerous, young and approaching prime, that they're doing this to too now. It's like Jai Opataya, that cruiserweight guy. He is a heck of a fighter to watch. He's very exciting. He's an action guy, a crowd-pleasing fighter. And there are other champions that don't want to fight him. And it's like they're saying, well, I wonder what he'll look like at heavyweight. They're already trying to push him out the division.
Right.
Because instead of him proving himself amongst his peers, they want to push him to the next
same thing with Benavidez.
You know, What kind of
Same thing with
foolishness is this?
Benavidez. It's the same
They
thing with
kind
Benavidez.
of doing it with
Yeah.
Boots too, a little bit, like kind of. Like Boots are kind of like pushing him out as well. They don't want him there. They don't want him at 147.
Well,
No,
the
they want him
Boots
out of
thing
there
is
because
the
I
other
know for
champions
sure
is just
Matchroom
popping
wants
around.
to try to get Conor Ben a world title, and
Right.
Boots stands in the way of that. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Mm.
And it's like, come on, man, just
Yeah,
fight. If you're
right.
good
They-
enough, you can achieve some things. That's all.
They want to
I
push
keep telling
Boots
you.
out that division so Conor Ben can get the fight.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, of course.
Exactly. He's a dominant force in that division. And that being said, as we're
Sponsors.
talking about these fights being made and the frustration that I can hear this panel going through, watching this come together, news on Turki Al-Sheikh now, you know what I'm saying, taking his resources and keeping his resources at home in Riyadh now, doesn't want to supposedly, right, because we also have some counter information that's saying that this might not necessarily be true, but that he won't be doing events in the United States or abroad. They all will be in Riyadh.
Wait, Clay. Before you get to that, I want to
Mhm.
ask I want to ask the brothers who they think will win between Terence and how the fight with Terence and Bakram plays out.
Honestly, Blue, that's why I was going with it before this question. I've been trying to get these dudes to talk about this, and they're not going there. They're not going there. I think
You didn't ask the question. You didn't ask the
I mean,
question.
I was
though.
trying to like let y'all bring it in what the natural choice would be, but nobody would say this man's name. And I know his last name is hard to say, but I thought at least the first name would come out by now. But at the end of the day, what about Terence Crawford and Bakram? Is this fight make sense? Can this come together? A unifying championship fight between somebody who just had an impressive fight against what some people at one point in time said was the best fighter at 154 outside of Jamel Charlo and Tim Tszyu. He beat him, dominated him in a way that nobody expected him to dominate him. He's looked at as one of the most dangerous fighters right now at 154. Does it even make sense at this point for Terence Crawford to take a fight like that? Keeping in mind, of course, that Bakram doesn't have any kind of following, you know, as far as pay-per-view sales, as far as commercial value is concerned, doesn't bring that to the table. But I think competitively, as far as boxing fans is considered, as far as a great fight is considered, this could check those boxes. But what do you guys think about that? And how does that fight turn out if it does happen?
I'll let Echo go first. I'll be right back. Give me 1 second.
It's a dangerous fight for sure because he's got a nice. I watched him. He's got a nice short left hook, and he's got that integrity, you know, to fight. He'll fight. He'll come to fight. I don't think I think he'll want the fight as well. So that I think that could be made, that fight, if Terence wants that fight. But how the fight would go, I mean, I'd favour Crawford still to win the fight because of his IQ and being able to switch it as well.
More difficult than Madrimov?
Yeah, more difficult, yeah.
Right. So in a way, not trying to use triangle theories, but is Bakram a better fighter than Israel Madrimov?
Well, that's hard to say, isn't it? It's different. His styles make fights, Clay.
Right. It's his length, right? His length and his reach.
And also he comes forward more.
Mm-hmm.
You know, remember, Tim Tszyu is always a pressure fighter.
Charles Pickett said, "Hell no, Bub won't fight that Abraham Lincoln looking."
Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president of the United States.
Yes. Charles Pickett. I have a friend of mine back in the day named Charles Pickett that lives in Virginia now. He was in the Navy, but he's from New York. That'd be crazy if that was the same Charles Pickett. I know it's not though, because he would have said something crazy to me by now. I haven't talked to that dude in years, but yeah, shout out Charles Pickett. But
yeah, I think it's a dangerous fight though, for sure.
No doubt.
But it'll be a good fight, I think.
Does it make sense for it to be his next fight, or does he stand fast, or does it make more sense for him to wait out Sebastian Fundora and Errol Spence? And
I think he should do that. I think he should do that. But I think he could have. I mean, the thing is, I really believe still that Jamel is the king of the division because he never lost his title. You know, and I believe he could come back as well.
Now, don't let me find that out. Blue, you have a a super chat in the building. That is a very interesting super chat by D-Boy Dev, and it's going to get me in my bag if that super chat is accurate. Before you get into that, don't even pull up that super chat right now, because I need Stormy B to speak on this, and I don't even want to segue out of this. So let Stormy B go. But that super chat is very interesting. But Stormy, it's a very interesting super chat. But Stormy, please bless us with some perspective. Give us some idea. What does that fight look like? Does it make sense? And what do you see happening in that fight?
Well, I see it going down like this, plain and simple. I believe that Bud Crawford beats Bakram, but it's not going to be an easy thing. But because he's that 5-dimensional fighter, Bakram in the professional ranks has not faced a 5-dimensional fighter. Tim Tszyu was only 1-dimensional, 2 maybe, but definitely a single-dimensional fighter because he couldn't get out of the way of those punches with the lack of head movement or anything. Bud Crawford has timing. He has speed. He has experience. And the intangible that he has that hasn't been tested very often, but it is there always bubbling under the surface, his competitive nature is off the charts. If you think for one moment that just because you can punch hard or you might be strong, that you're going to go in there and take something from that man, you better think again. And like I said, he is of the ilk of a lot of fighters that don't exist today. You don't have a lot of that, and that's okay, because that's what allows you to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff. You see, it's that simple. But most people don't see life that simple. Remember, we're talking about people that never saw Roy losing, never saw Mike losing, and things of that nature. But when someone has multiple layers, they can go places that other fighters can't go. And it's real simple. If you remember Sugar Ray Leonard when he took on Donnie Lalonde, that was a great example of what it could be for Bud against Bakram, because Lalonde was a bigger fighter, he was light heavyweight, and he and Ray were fighting for that 168-pound title. Ray didn't even weigh in fully at 168 pounds. He had like silver dollars in his
Sure.
his jogging pants and everything when he stepped on the scales. So the thing about it is, Ray took a shot from Lalonde early in the fight and then dropped him. But it woke him up. It woke him up to like, okay, I got to fight this guy a different way. I got to beat him with my speed, but I also got to beat him with power, but I got to get inside on him to get my speedy punches off on him and everything. And that's where Ray had experience over Donnie. Donnie could box and can pop you with his big right hand and everything, but he had never had to go to war. And Ray took that fight to him like that and took him out of the fight mentally. See, Bakram is strong. He definitely is. And he uses his strength and his power to his advantage to those who participate in that type of thing with him. But remember, a guy that you can't hit clean and a guy that can slip and counter you or feint you out of something and tag you real good and make you, I just got to go get him. Ali used to love fighters like that because he would take them apart. Fighters like Bud Crawford will do the same. But I'm going to tell you something. I see Bud stopping him and stopping him nastily because he can run him into stuff. And that's what's really interesting, because people are looking at the size of the guy. You better look at the size in that guy, the fight that's in him. And that's what I see. I know you wanted to hear, but it's a different point of view for your ear.
Yes, sir.
Salute.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Salute to great brother Quincy calling in the super chat. Much love. He said, will pay-per-view on the decline with pay-per-view on the decline, will fighters' purses start to fall? And then we got my brother D-Boy Dev in the super chat dropping that cinco on this in the super chat. He said, don't know if it's true or not, but rumors are Murtazaliev broke his knuckle in the Tim Tszyu fight, and Tank versus Roach is getting pushed back. Both are, I believe, true. I got text messages from.
Wait, Tank and Roach is getting pushed back? Why?
Yeah, that's what I got. I got text messages that's the case.
Start me up in this thing. Go ahead, Blue. Please go ahead.
And Murtazaliev broke his knuckle actually before the Tim Tszyu fight. He and shouts out to the boxing plug, L Dub Boxing. Murtazaliev texted him and told him that, and I saw the messages that he broke his knuckle before the Tim Tszyu fight.
Right hand or left hand?
Let me see.
Right, probably.
Let me tell you 1 second.
I don't think it was a left.
That left hook dropped him. It would have been the right hand.
You ain't right.
I don't think it's that left, bro. I don't know. Something tells me it wasn't the left, but let's see what it is.
You ain't right for that, man.
It's not
that one.
It's got to be the right hand.
If you say the left hand, that's going to be diabolical, bro.
Well, if that's the case, he broke it twice then, because I'm sure that punch would have smashed his knuckles in.
Listen, if you say it was that left hand, that's going to be diabolical.
He said that he broke. I broke the bone with displacement. I think I won't be able to work with it for a couple of months. He didn't say. He didn't say which hand it is.
Yeah, it was probably the right. Yeah.
Yeah, more than likely. I mean, I broke my hand in a fight, and I knocked the guy out with a broken hand. But I wouldn't have gone into the fight with a broken hand. More than likely.
And then I got a message from somebody that works with the PBC that says might have a setback and a pushback date. Stay tuned for Tank.
Why is that?
Didn't say.
Well, we'll find out. You know what I mean? This goes into what I was getting completely strung out for. You know, they wanted to burn me at the stake as a witch or something, right? But at the end of the day, there's a business of boxing. There's a structured deal that if you're into boxing, you don't have the answers to how this deal with Amazon Prime and PBC has been structured. We don't understand. There has to be rhyme and reason as to why they've only done 5 events this year, and they told us they were going to do 10 to 12 and 12 to 14 events. Something is weird with the structure of this deal, and these fighters aren't folding. They're not sacrificing. Listen, Canelo Alvarez made it clear in the beginning of this year, and he almost left the PBC because of issues of escrow money not being where it was supposed to be. He said, I need to see my monies where they're supposed to be, or I'm not moving nowhere. I'm not playing that game. Tank Davis was supposed to fight. I don't care what anybody says. Everybody knows they was sold the story that Tank was going to fight on the opening PBC card for that March fight against Frank Martin. It got pushed out to June. Or another situation popped up where Calvin Ford spoke and said, listen, we're watching to see how Amazon is playing this with the PBC. We want to see what kind of production they're offering. I asked Calvin that on Mill City. Shout out to my brother. And that's what he said. So once again, questions and concerns about how the deal is being structured and how I'm getting my money. These fighters don't want to play the game of I'm going to make my money on the back end. PBC's whole entire theory of eat what you kill with that pay-per-view model is not flying for the biggest stars on that banner. They want guaranteed money. Canelo wants guaranteed money. Tank wants guaranteed money, and I'm believing Errol Spence wants guaranteed money. And I believe that's what's got Errol Spence kind of holding off on making this fight happen as well with Sebastian Fundora, where people are trying to put pressure on Errol and say Errol doesn't want to fight. He's not physically ready. He's not mentally ready. This, that, and the other. No, I think I'm just waiting on my deal to come through. I was the face of the PBC. That was my spot. Canelo wasn't there. Tank wasn't there yet. I was the guy who was filling out Cowboy Stadium. I was the face. Yeah, I took an L from Terence Crawford, but I still fight. I made a certain amount of money. I'm not going backwards. We're going to have to make this make sense. And I believe if this fight right now is getting pushed out, outside of an injury coming out, that we hear Tank had an injury or Lamont had some sort of injury, I think it's going to be very interesting to hear the excuses as to why these things aren't being put together.
Listen, injury, if an injury story comes, it's a lie. What's really happening here is this. These guys don't want to fight nobody. And Amazon have decided to venture into this sport. They've gone with the wrong promotional company of PBC because they never were fighting anybody. They were only fighting, like the name guys were fighting 80-20 matches. That's what they were doing. And the mere time when Amazon said, okay, we're going to pay you this money, but we want to see some real fights, because if you make the real fights, the money is there. They've been cheating us and the game for a long time, and the well is drying up, bro. That's what's happening. And it's a shame, because a lot of them guys are aging themselves, but there's a whole wave and crop of young, ready fighters to take over. And I'm telling you, when this current crop, the Tank Davises, the Canelos, and the Arrows, and when those guys are out of the way, watch how boxing get lively again. I'm guaranteeing you.
I agree with you.
And maybe it will take PBC to freaking fold like a card table for this to happen, because people are getting sick and tired of this foolishness. Turki Al-Sheikh has turned the light on, and the roaches are scrambling from the light, because those fights that are happening on those Riyadh season events are 50-50, 60-40 type fights, and you are getting bang for the buck.
$20, $40.
They have even reduced. They have reduced the pay-per-view price, and you're still getting some outstanding stuff. So I'm telling you.
Wait, hold on one moment, not to cut you guys off. Quincy, we have not forgot about your question. Your question is completely involved in this whole conversation, and trust you me, hang tight for a second. It's going to be addressed. I promise you.
Right, Quincy. That's what we leading up into for your question, Quincy. That's what we're going to.
A lot of OGs in here to build, and trust me, I'm in the room with some OGs. I'm asking a lot more questions and giving answers. I'm way more taking in information and giving out information. I'm just trying to set the stage and you know what I mean, and just keep it where it needs to be. But Quincy, trust you me, give it a chance. It's coming. The question is going to get answered. But back to what you guys were saying, right? And just adding to it to say that what's moving forward into Quincy's question, why not, as far as pay-per-views are concerned, as far as the model of pay-per-view and how streaming and how people are able to steal fights. I said there was a reasonable argument to be made that a fight like a Lamont Roach versus Tank Davis in some ways is bad for boxing, right? Now, I know I'm going to get crucified on multiple different content creation spaces about talking about their fighter, but the reason I said that is because if you're force feeding the fan base fights that they don't want to see, you're charging $70 to $90 for these fights that fans aren't asking for. Let me not say don't want to see, because I know there are a lot of fans out there who just want to see Tank fight and they don't care who he fights. But I'm going to say fights that the fans aren't asking for, right? And you're charging them $70 to $90 per fight. Is it reasonable to argue that you're motivating fans to go and steal fights on streaming applications and on the internet, not pay pay-per-views, and ultimately hurting the sport for the bigger picture as far as pay-per-views are concerned? Because once people start stealing and getting things for free and find out how easy it is, do they subconsciously become very comfortable with that idea? And does that make it harder for them to come back to actually swiping their card and paying for fights that probably are worth the money?
Well, let me ask you this. when you go out and you say, man, I got a taste for a burger, huh? And you got a certain burger joint you go to, right? Now you go to that burger joint. Let's just say it's Burger King. Okay.
Mhm.
Burger King. People like Burger King. James Tony loved Burger King, But you go to Burger King and they pull out a quarter pounder for you.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, wait a minute, man, where's my Whopper? Because the Whopper flame broiled, the quarter pound, that's not the same thing, man. That's
Never
not the
frozen
same.
patty. What's
You
going
know
on
what I
here?
mean? So it's like you're not getting what you're paying for.
Mm.
So you trying to run some game on me or something? Was it the sign say Burger King, bro? So it's the same thing here. Thank goodness for Turkey al-Ashik because
Mm.
Queensberry and Matchroom, and now even Boxer and Top Rank have gotten involved in those promotions.
Golden Boy, who has an event coming up right next month,
Well,
Latino night.
Not yet for them, but
Right.
later for them anyway, for a multitude of reasons. But PBC and their fighters are the ones who haven't participated. There's a reason for that. And the reason lies right in front of your face in the truth about the Whopper and the quarter pounder, because they keep giving you what you don't want, bro.
Mm.
They keep giving it to you. And they say, don't worry, it's still going to taste good. And you say, I don't want it. They say, don't worry, we still put mustard and ketchup on it. And you say, I don't want it. They say, don't worry, it's still a burger patty. And you say, I don't want it. Eventually, it's going to collapse. And people are getting fed up, man. They're fed up.
Yeah.
Especially when you look over and Turk has dropped the prices down from
A third.
$99, $89 to $20.
Yeah.
I'll pay $20 just because he dropped it.
Right.
That might seem like stupid logic, but it's not.
Nah. I said a burger, right? You have a burger theory.
What they're saying is, I support this.
Mm.
Listen, brother, I said I have a burger theory myself, and I said I love burgers. You charge me $100 for a burger, I'm going to become very critical of that burger. That burger is better be perfect in every aspect that a burger can be perfect in. Any bit of imperfection in that $100 burger you charge me can get you a jacket of the worst burger I've ever had in my life. In comparison to if I walk into a fast food place and I pay $10 for a burger, imperfections get a little bit of a pass. Okay, it's not all the way perfect, but it's good enough here. It's good enough here. It's good enough there. You start charging these high prices for these events, people are going to hold it to a high standard, and they're going to start nitpicking at every bit of the event that doesn't make sense to them, because they're going to start thinking about their money that they spent. And some people are willing to watch a replay of it for free down the line, or like I said, with the streaming service, with legal streaming where it's at right now, people are becoming more conscious of their money. And that's why I said, is it reasonable to argue that a fight like this on pay-per-view is devaluing pay-per-views in general and pushing people towards stealing fights? Once a person steals a fight and once a person knows how to steal a bad fight, what's stopping them from stealing a good fight?
Nothing. I mean, I used the same analogy the other day with a friend. I said, if you was to tell me you had a car for sale, say it was a Mercedes, and then I was to go round to your house to buy it, but then you say, well, no, I've not got a Mercedes. I've got a Mini. A Mini's a good car. I'm not going to buy it because I want a Mercedes. It's the same thing with the fights. You know, if you're looking for a fight and you get in a fight you don't want, why would you pay for it? And now everything's free now. Streaming, there's streaming new sites every day coming up. They are.
Yeah.
More and more. They're doing all they can to try to stop every site from loading. They take it down, and they've got all these different links. They've got 10 links to a site. So when it gets taken down, another one comes up. People
And
have
just to answer the question for Quincy Carter, in case Quincy you didn't hear the answer, and I'll ask the question to the panel. He said, with pay-per-view on a decline, will fighters' purses fall? So are we expecting fighters' money and amount they're getting paid to actually go down because of declining sales of pay-per-views?
Yes, of course they will. Especially if you're going to get paid on the back end of a pay-per-view,
Mm-hmm.
you know, obviously you're going to lose money because you won't be making so much money on the pay-per-view.
So in turn, does that mean that we're going to see a lot more fighters looking for more higher guaranteed paydays for them to put these fights together, because they're going to lose faith in the ability to make the money that they're getting promised on the back end while pay-per-views are declining in sales, right?
Well, this is the problem when you get paid 10 million for a fight, you expect 10 million the next fight or whatever, maybe 8 million, but they don't even get that. I mean, look at Thurman. How much did he get for Pacquiao? Was it 10 million? Was it?
Something like that.
That's what he said.
Has he ever got anything near that since?
He hasn't fought since then either. Well, yes, he has. I mean,
Yeah, he fought Mario Barrios.
Yeah, he fought Mario Barrios.
But he didn't get 10 million, that's for sure.
But I'm saying he hasn't been active. He's gone about damn near 3 years inactive. He was going to fight Keith Thurman for I mean, God, he was going to fight Tim Tszyu, you know what I mean, for a payday. He got injured, but it seems like Keith Thurman isn't. Listen, man, there's a pattern. There's a consistent pattern popping up with these high price dollar fighters. And they're not returning as easily anymore. You saw Jamel Charlo get his payday with Canelo and step off into the sunset. You know what I'm saying?
If you get 30 million, why would you be in set? Well, you can easily take a year off after 30 million. If you're making 300,000, you know, that doesn't pay, that's not the same as getting 3-4 million.
Yeah, I think it's interesting. Shout out to Quincy Carter for the question. I thought that was an interesting question. Like I said, I've been getting my back kicked in about this conversation, but I'm not tripping about it because it's a conversation I'm not scared to have, because I think it's an interesting conversation, because you're watching a lot of fighters, and specifically in the PBC right now, and you're looking at a PBC that's been as inactive as I've ever seen a promotional company be inactive this year, putting on events. And unfortunately, their last events with Tim Tszyu, rumors are that that No Limit Promotions out of Australia was the one who paid for that card. That PBC didn't help with that card. The production was trash. You know what I'm saying? Straight basura. You know what I'm saying? That last production on a decent card, 3 decent fights on the card, but horrible production on there.
The fights actually lived up to it.
Yeah, the fights did well. You know what I mean? No complaints about the fights, but the production was horrible. And then to even hear a rumor right now, 2 rumors that have dropped this week. One rumor being that Errol Spence's fight may be getting pushed out until into March instead of in January, as everybody's been rumoring that it was gonna be. And then now to even hear a rumor in the direction of a possibility of a Lamont Roach and Tank Davis fight getting pushed down the road as well. So I think it's just interesting.
Turkey just put out a statement on social media.
Mm-hmm.
He says, this is what he just said. Hey, he said, who told y'all I will not do another event in the U.S. anymore? ? Make sure to take the announcement from me only.
There we go. And that's the other part that we're going to segue into.
I'm going to say this, you know, what it is, you know, people have ideas, right? Mm-hmm. But ideas get them. It's like people will have an idea, but they don't really have ideas. Ideas get them. If there's enough people telling you that this is not going to happen, he's not going to do these fights in America, wait till you hear it from him.
But people want to be the first. You know, Denzel spoke on it before. I'm not going to quote him because I don't remember exactly, but he kind of spoke about people racing to give information, not being so concerned about it being true. But you know what I'm saying? Jumping, you probably going to speak on the Echo. But
it's breaking news. Well, you hear it all the time.
Right.
You know, breaking news. What's the? I mean, really, unless you're hearing it from the source,
you never know.
It's like I always say, you know, believe half what you see and nothing you hear.
Right. So I mean, Turkey, you know, all this narrative that Bob Arum put out there that Turkey was receiving pressure from the prince and the king of Saudi Arabia, and that they that Turkey's event in the U.S. embarrassed the kingdom, and that it was not successful at all, and they never want to do that again, and they're telling him, basically they're restricting him to the confinement of Riyadh season, right?
News.
Right, they broken news, right?
News.
They're restricting him to Riyadh. Shout out Cheese. They restricted him to Riyadh, and I mean, you had Eddie Hearn kind of make a statement of like, he basically said it was the stupidest thing he ever heard in his life. He said that the event in Los Angeles was an absolute success, that it was a card super stack. He doesn't think he's seen an event in the U.S. as crazy as that event, with Eminem performing and all the people that went there. They gave away a Lucid car, I think it was. They gave away a Lucid, all kinds of things that Turkey was doing to make it. And not only the event as far as the fight that night, Saturday night, being successful, but he really made a whole thing about it during the whole week. The whole week was a week of events. There was even fights after the weigh-ins. I mean, not the weigh-ins, after the press conference, he had the prelim fights. Like, how you normally put the prelim fights before the event. He put the prelim fights 2 days before the events in its own event. And I heard him shut it down. You know what I mean? I heard it was really a big deal. So basically, Eddie Hearn said that was nonsense. He doesn't know what that guy's talking about. And of course, following it up with my brother Blue Blood spitting that tweet out. At this point, I think it's fair to say that that's fake news. Turki Al-Sheikh is not saying he won't never do an event outside the country. Now, why push a narrative out there like that? Why push a narrative that these events won't be in America anymore, or won't be outside of Saudi anymore?
Just to put a negative shade on everything. That's right. What it is.
Just to hate on the fights.
Of course it is.
I'm gonna tell you why. It's PBC. They doing it because they don't like being put to shame.
Well, in this case, it was Bob. It was Bob Arum, actually, in this case of Top Rank. You know what I'm saying? Who actually made the statement about Turkey, saying that about the pressure and about the events not coming back to the country, which I think that had more so to do with Jared Anderson. He didn't like the way Jared Anderson kind of got exposed by Martin Bacoli. Everybody got to see him, which is a whole nother conversation as well. So I think he's just negative towards the Turkey thing. What do you think about the boxing space here in America? A lot of boxing content creators and everybody's saying that don't send your fighters over to fight over at Turkey. You see how they all losing. What is that all about? It's matchmaking. Is there traps being set here? Is it unfair to put a fighter in a competitive fight and him lose? Is like, what is that all about? What does that mean? Don't send your fighter over to fight for Turkey because you see that the fighters are losing. Any opinion on that at all?
Of course. I mean, you've only got to look back in the olden days, when Duran went up to fight Leonard. I mean, that wasn't a guaranteed win for anybody. We know that. They fought, what was it, 20th of June 1980. Then they had the rematch in 25th of June and 25th of November 1980. But nobody was there.
Let's bring it up to a more modern era of the 90s. Everybody knows how tough Mike Tyson appeared to be, and then he lost to Buster Douglas.
Yeah,
there was a fight that he fought after Buster Douglas that was a tough and big fight for him, and nobody remembers it. People forget this fight. He had actually a 2-fight series with Razor Ruddock.
Yeah.
And the thing about it was a competitive fight between two hard-punching guys or whatever. But in today's era, those guys would never meet. They would never meet. And it's based on what you're talking about here with what Turkey is putting on. Turkey is putting on the types of fights that bring those men together. It is their responsibility to be good enough to shine in those events and be victorious, or look good enough that they get asked back for another appearance. When you are hiding in the shade because you may not necessarily be as good as advertised, what will happen when the light gets turned on? You see, now you got to point fingers and place blame and everything. Top Rank has always done good matching fighters, building their careers. But once they've reached a certain level, then it always comes to a point where that fighter has to leave Top Rank's graces to go on to become whomever they're going to become. We've seen it from Ray Leonard all the way through Floyd Mayweather and Miguel Cotto, Mikey Garcia. We've seen it. Oscar De La Hoya. We've seen that, right? So what happens is eventually, matchmakers be damned. The fighters have to step up, don't they?
Yeah.
They do. And that's what you're seeing, the difference in the quality of cards that man is putting on for Riyadh season. I haven't complained about a card that I've watched of his, because even if all the matches didn't go like I might have wanted them to go or whatever, I've been totally entertained and have learned some new names and faces through the
Talk
process.
about it.
Great.
It's been a great, for a real boxing fan. The Turkey era this year has been a refreshing experience, I think, for a real boxing fan. And I say that, and I don't hold back on that. Refreshing is the word to describe it, because that's how it feels. You're not paying out the back. You're not losing all your money. You know what I'm saying? And you're watching fights and you're thinking one thing, you're being surprised. There's upsets. There are more competitive fights in the weirdest places where you didn't even think the fight was going to be competitive at. That's where the competitive fight is at. It's added, and he's shown love to fighters losing. If a fighter loses, it doesn't mean they're done with. He'll put them on the next event or in 2 events later. He doesn't sit there and, oh, you lost, your commercial value is gone. You know what I mean? Back to the PJs for you. Back to the damn Pro Box for you. Shout out to Pro Box. We love what you're doing, but you know what I mean? You know what I'm saying? It's not like that with Turkey. You're not scared to lose, and they're obviously getting paid well. They're getting paid what they feel like they're worth, so they're fighting very confidently. And let me tell you something else I've noticed about the fights on Turkey's cards. The fighters on Turkey's cards are conscious of the opportunity, and they fight their hearts out on those cards because of it.
Yeah.
Let me add to what you just said about mentioning pay.
And they never complained about that.
Heard anybody discuss purses. We haven't heard anybody discuss purses. Those men have gone in there, just like you said, Claymore, that they've gone in there and given their best.
Yes.
When we saw, just for an example of what I'm saying, when we saw Daniel Dubois facing Jarrell Miller, and in that fight, the press conference, you're always going to get something out of Jarrell, and he's going to say some things or whatever. But when the fight took place, you could see there was a little bit of thing going on where Daniel wasn't sure, and then he began to believe in himself. And you saw him take this turn in that fight. And then you could see Jarrell realize, this kid is a little bit better than I thought, a little stronger. I'm not in the best of shape. And it changed. And then late in the fight, Daniel stepped it up.
And didn't need to. Could have walked away and played games.
And he started putting it on. I'm telling you guys, because I haven't talked to any of you, and that fight was months ago. I literally was sitting in my room yelling at the TV, "Come on, Danny, you can do it." Because I could see where Jarrell was breaking down, and Daniel hadn't been in that type of fight before. And I was like, "Come on, throw some more punches." And he got the stoppage. I was cheering for him.
Right.
I never freaking cheered for Daniel Dubois. But I love what I was watching, because there was a story being told. And now the dude is the IBF heavyweight champion of the world.
Insanity.
A couple of fights later. This is what the Turk has done for us as boxing fans. And that's just one little story amongst all of these cards that he's had since he's been putting on these events. But it's been great. I want more. You know what I'm saying? And it's like, that's all we've been freaking asking for. And when you see somebody complaining about it, or they're trying to throw out that bad talk or whatever, like they're saying that, all of that stuff. That's because that's trying to undermine. It's just like if you were doing something great and had some success, you have the haters come out, right? They come out,
Oh man,
oh, look at him.
I'm living it right now.
Subs now. He think he better than somebody.
Oh, I'm living it right now in real life, brother. I know exactly what you're saying.
And on that note, fellas, I gotta get out of here. The wife is texting me.
We've been doing it. Yo, tonight was a great panel, bro. Thank you, Blue.
Hey,
yo, Stormy,
I want to do this again, man. I mean, if y'all available tomorrow,
I'm not gonna be here. You know what? No. F that. I'm gonna be here, dog. I don't know.
If you want me to come back tomorrow, I'll come back tomorrow.
No, let's do it on Tuesday.
What time?
We usually start about 3:34.
Right.
That's 9 o'clock to you, Echo.
Oh, you're already okay. 9 o'clock. Okay.
I'm in New York. Yeah.
I'm gonna say 3 o'clock. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
9 p.m. Okay.
I saw Echo carrying the one.
Yeah.
Echo was up in there like if it's
that's about 2:30. That's about 2:30, 3:30 to Stormy because he in Chicago.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So when you on again? Tomorrow, you said?
On Tuesday.
Oh, next Tuesday.
Yeah, because Clay works tomorrow.
Yeah, man. I was about to take the day off of this. Yo, but I had to check myself because I had to check myself, bro. I know my wife is probably like, boy, if you don't stop playing around, you always think shit is sweet out here. You're gonna stop taking these damn days off. You know what I mean? I'm starting to tap into the savings a little bit. I'm starting to tap into the savings. He's like, you keep playing around. We supposed to be buying a new house. But
no, man.
No, these conversations are awesome. And I mean it, man. For me personally, I grab a lot, you know what I'm saying, from these conversations. And I love the position I play in these conversations, the questions, and I got them too, because I'm a person who has a lot of questions. I don't have all the answers, you know what I'm saying? But I'm not scared to ask the questions because they're there, and people want to act like if you ask those questions that you're out of pocket or that you hating, and I really don't care, family. You know what I'm saying? I want to know. I want some perspective. It's happening, whether you want to ask the question or not. It's happening. So you might as well ask a question, or you can do what a lot of you guys out there do, which is push false narratives and try to steer it into another direction. The truth still has value in some spaces on the internet. Not everywhere, I'm aware, but in some spaces it does.
Quincy Carter said, salute to Quincy Carter in the super chat. He said, do we agree with Devin not taking short money for the Liam Powell fight? So Devin,
I agree that he shouldn't take shorter money.
Yeah, don't take short money, but I already think that's a complicated situation. With Devin and Liam, the issues I have, and listen, man, Mickey Bay was on here the other night and he made it clear. He kind of answered this question, but I'm not there yet. I need to see it. I have questions and concerns about Devin Haney's ability to make weight in a safe way. I've seen him have bad weight cuts that I don't care. That fight against Ryan Garcia looked like there was a bad weight cut involved in that fight. You know what I'm saying? Before that fight, he had the raccoon eyes. And when I think about Liam Powell, I can't help but think about the IBF world title, which is an awesome title. But of course, I can't not think about rehydration clauses. And in a fight where he fought against Ryan Garcia, where the weight seemed to play its part in there, I don't know. You know what I mean? I question, if the money ain't right, why fight for that IBF title? If the money's not going to be right, you're already going to come in there with that rehydration clause. I don't know, man. Don't take the short money.
Let me help you out with this response. What the hell ever happened to being a professional and remaining being disciplined? Be disciplined. When you maintain discipline, you can maintain integrity. When you maintain integrity, you can maintain proper representation. When you have proper representation, you are ready for what's ahead.
Right.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
Simple as that.
And on that note, we up out of here. Nick J, the Chocolate Queen, making 50% of the Queens of the Ring. She's in the building.
Salute.
So yeah, Echo, give your last words, Echo.
Yeah, I was just I was going to say I've really enjoyed today talking to you guys, and yeah, I'll be back on Tuesday.
Can't wait, man.
Thanks for everything. Cool.
Absolutely. It's a
Okay,
pleasure.
bye-bye. Bye-bye.
All
The
right.
great Stormy.
Hey man, I want to say thanks for inviting me on, Blue. This was a great opportunity. Come on, you know I hadn't had a chance to chop it up with you in a long time, so thank you for that. You know I'm always out there lurking in your chat with my little funny comments and stuff.
All you gotta do is say the word. You know you're welcome anytime you want. So.
And it's great meeting you, Clay. And like I said,
No, you
I
too, Stormy.
subscribe to you while we've been engaging here. So you got a new sub in me. And listen, man, anytime you want me to come up and, you know, fill the gaps, you know, I have no problem, bro. No problem at all.
I think it looked like me and Clay gonna make this a regular thing, huh, Clay?
Listen, I enjoyed the living day. I was like, listen, when it comes to stuff like this, I get excited and happy like a little kid in the toy store. This is really it's becoming a passion of mine, and I say that because I used to just be a regular boxing fan like everybody else watching fights, but I love building with like minds, wise people. Boxing, like you said earlier, Stormy B man, is something that translates beyond the ring. For me, it translates into life. And I love getting into those deep conversations. So yeah, man, today was one of those days for me. Today was one of those days. I got a few of them in the box. You know what I mean? Not every day is one of those days. There's a lot of days we're dealing with a lot of stupidity, low IQ nonsense that we're having to fight against. But every now and then, you know what I mean?
What we're supposed to get. This is what we're supposed to have.
Exactly.
This is what we're supposed to have.
You know I love it. It's fun for me, you know. To the degree that sometimes I have to remind myself to take a break because it's like I'll just be going.
You know, that's what I'm saying, man. My wife texted me. She said, "Dinner been ready for an hour."
Yeah, you know about that dinner. They ain't think they cook that dinner to be sitting here watching you. And I think my wife hates seeing me microwave some food. Like she hates it, boy. Like that food was hot, man.
Why
about an hour and a half ago.
Like, why do they hate that? Like, bro, it's my food.
Exactly. They hate it, bro. No, that food was hot. I made it hot an hour and a half ago. You should have been sitting here inside of 20 minutes to enjoy a hot meal that I made for you. Yeah, bro. It gets wicked. It gets wicked out here.
My wife tell me all the time, that's why I don't like cooking for you. I'm like, what? It ain't like I ain't eat it.
It's not like I don't eat it.
I just heated it up.
She want that steam to come off of that. You want that in front of you on the table.
Yeah,
you want you to sit there. Respect this labor. Respect this damn labor.
AK Crowder, my brother. What's up, AK? Hey, Stormy. So yeah, man. So Stormy, we'll see you on Tuesday.
All right, man. Sounds good. You guys take care, man.
I appreciate it, Stormy.
Peace, man.
All right, Blue. It was another one. We did it again.
Another great one, man.
Another one in the books.
That's it.
We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Let's get on out of here, man. I need y'all to go subscribe to my brother Claymore Rain. Link is in the chat. It's actually pinned up in the chat. So click the link. It's actually pinned up in the chat. Go subscribe to my brother Stormy B Man as well. His link is attached to that. Pinned up in the chat. And this look like we're gonna have this consistent, but we'll bring the two wise men back on Tuesday. Two wise men on Tuesday. Right? That sounds like a plan, man.
Yeah, but go to work. Yeah, man, I gotta go to work, Texas. You right.
Yeah,
you right. I had to hold it back. I had to take it back, bite my tongue in the middle of it. She told me to chill on that. She told me to chill out on that. I had to remember. I had to remember. Let me not do that. We did talk about that.
Yo, hold on. Now, I ain't even going to work tomorrow.
We talked about that. You right. We talked about that. You right. It is what it is.
But y'all already know what it is. It's your boy Blue Blood Sports TV. Hate, like, comment, and subscribe. If you haven't subscribed, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the bell icon to get all the new notifications. Follow me on Instagram at Blue Blood Sports TV, all one word. So we got for y'all. We gone. Peace.
Peace.